Hello. I wish all students and teachers present here a very good morning. And I'm Talia Hakim from the Department of ISC, and I will be your moderator for this event. Today at Sir MVIT, we are hosting a panel discussion on innovation and startup ecosystem. This is in association with Institutions Innovation Council at Sir M. Vishwesvaraya Institute of Technology. I would now like to proceed to welcome all our panel discussion members on the stage. I request our principal and our panel discussion members to um, please join us on the stage. I would like to invite Vijayashri ma'am, professor at the Department of ESE, for an invocation song to to initiate this event.
भक्तामर प्रणतमौलिमणि प्रभाणाम् मुद्योतकं दत्तापतमोवितानम् सम्यक् प्रणम्य जिनपादयुगं युगादा वालम्बनं भवजले पततां जनाभ्यं नमस्त्रिभुवनार्तिहराय नाथ तुभ्यं नमः क्षितितलामलभूषणाय तुभ्यं नमस्त्रिजगत परमेश्वराय तुभ्यं नमो जिनभवोदधिशोषणाय स्तोत्रस्त्रजं तव जिनेन्द्रगुणैर्निबद्धाम् भक्त्या मया रुचिरवर्णविचित्रपुष्पाम् धत्ते जनो यैह कण्ठगता मजस्त्रम् तं मानतुङ्गमवशा समुपैति लक्ष्मी तं मानतुङ्गमवशा
We would now like to extend a hearty welcome to all our members at the dais. Firstly, our principal, Dr. V.R. Manjunath, for being the chief guest at this event. Ma'am Ranjita Ravi, co-founder of Oxtra Energies. Thank you so much for joining us at this event, ma'am. Dr. Prajwal Sanbis, co-founder of Oxtra Energies as well. And Mr. Srinivas BV, Managing Director of Aspartica Biotech Private Limited. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. We also have three online members joining us today. Mr. Bhuvanesh Sharma, Managing Director of VDT Pipeline Integrity. Dr. Romana Singh Sehgal, founder of Serendipity. and Mr. Manjunatha TN, founder and CEO of Humus. Please give them a huge round of applause. To commence this event, we will initiate the lighting of the lamp. I would request the members of the dais to please initiate it. What a great way to receive God's blessings for this present event. I will now request our principal, Dr. V.R. Manjunath, to illuminate this audience with his words of wisdom and welcome the audience.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. A very good morning to all of you present here, distinguished dignitaries on the dais, the dignitaries who have joined this event online, the office bearers and members of our Institute Innovation Council of SRMVIT, faculty members, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this event for having invited me on this occasion and for permitting me to say a few words. First of all, on behalf of the management, staff and students of SRMVIT, I would like to extend a very hearty welcome to Mr. Srinivas, who is the Director and CEO of Paspartica, which has been establishing the incubation center. Mr. Srinivas actually is our past student, is our alumni, and he has been instrumental in establishing an incubation center in our own institution, and he is doing very well. Secondly, we have with us Mr. Prajwal, who also happens to be our alumni, 2007 batch student, passed out from mechanical engineering. And also we have Ranjita Ravi, also a student of biotechnology, passed out in 2008, if I'm not wrong. And both of them, together with another partner, they have their own startup called as Oxa Energies. Under this startup, I think they have come out with an electric motorcycle, which has been designed, developed, and also they have been manufactured. But the thing is, I was just told that it is just under certification for release to market. We were extremely fortunate to host an event for the Oxa Energies in our institution, I think in the month of February. Then they had actually 2 motorcycles which were ready, and they were on a very ambitious all India, what I can say, ride on these electric motorcycles covering around 14,000 plus kilometers. They wanted to create a world record. And since both these Ranjita and Prajwal were our students, we were privileged to host that event in our institution. From here, their journey started. I think they have come back successfully. And I was told only those batteries which are used for this electric vehicle, now they are actually marketed, they have been available. But shortly, their motorcycles also will be hitting the road. And I am extremely happy that Srinivas, Prajwal, and Ranjita, all three of them were our students. But like other students, they did not queue up in front of a placement drive conducted by companies seeking a job for themselves. In turn, they become entrepreneurs. They have actually have their own startups. Today, they are proud entrepreneurs who are actually offering jobs to others. The essence of this particular event today is in itself very significant because it highlights one thing, that every student who is studying its institution need not necessarily look for a job in a company. They also can look for opportunities to become an entrepreneurs in themselves, to have their own startups. In this direction, there are a lot of what I can say facilities, the policies of government of India, financial assistance. There is so much of encouragement provided by the government for youth who are actually ambitious, enterprising to start their own companies. So in this regard, the discussion today will be very valuable because all three of them seated on the chair were a student of this institution. Now they are entrepreneurs, they have their own startup, they have their success story. And behind their success, they have got a lot of painful experiences also, which they will be sharing with you, which will be very valuable for you to understand. If you want to become an entrepreneur, what you need to be, what mindset you should have, and how you should proceed. There are many things that they will be sharing with all of you in the course of discussion. And coming to our institute, this IIC, what we call Institute Innovation Council, which is sponsored by MHRD, Government of India, was established in the year 2020. So over the last 2 years, under IIC in the SRMBIT, we have been conducting various activities only to create the startup awareness among all the students. In the direction of the last 2 years, our IIC has conducted several activities, which includes workshops, idea competitions, field visits, and not only we conducting that, we have encouraged our students to participate in similar events and competitions conducted by IIC of other institutions in the city also. The whole idea or vision with which this IIC has been established in our college is to create an ecosystem which will foster entrepreneurial spirit among all the stakeholders, especially our student community. So this startup awareness or culture we want to inculcate in the students so that they can become entrepreneurs, they can have their own startup, and they can contribute to the growth of the national economy. And I'm very happy on this occasion to share that MHRD has provided with the 3.5-star ranking to our college Institute Innovation Council in the year 2021. So it's a great recognition of the efforts done by IIC in our institution, because 3.5-star I was told, 4 is the maximum they give. So we are somewhere doing some good work under this ICC banner. And for this, I would like to congratulate all the office bearers and members of ICC of our SRMBIT. And I request them to conduct many more meaningful such activities. And today's event, which is a national level panel discussion, is being actually addressed by dignitaries and eminent persons who have been a success in themselves. And I wish this event all the success. God bless all of you. Thank you.
It always brings us so much joy when the students from our college return with their success stories. I would like to now initiate the introductions of all our panel members. Firstly, I would like to call Varsha to introduce Mr. Manjunath TN, who will be joining us today through online mode, who is the founder and CEO of Humus.
Thank you, Talia. Myself, Varsha. I am from second year ISC. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce about Mr. Manjunath TN, founder and CEO of Humus. Manjunath sir is an entrepreneur born and raised in small village in Kolar district, Karnataka. He did his UG and PG in mechanical engineering in VTU Belgavi. After his studies, he taught mechanical engineering students in various reputed engineering institutions in Bangalore, such as SGCIT, Sai Vidya Institute of Technology, and RV Engineering College for 8 years. Though his day job was to profess students, giving him over 9 years of rich experience in teaching and about 10 plus years of hand on in farming, he also constantly kindled his passion for becoming an entrepreneur. Manjunath sir has invested a significant amount of time and efforts before founding Royal Brothers, that is South India's first government authorized motorbikes rental startup, and Humus, an agri fresh produce supply scale which was brainchild. Humus aims to build the value chain to safeguard the interests of crucial agricultural stakeholders. The expected outcome of Humus is to make agriculture a profitable occupation by eliminating inefficiencies in all verticals such as production, processing, skills, and marketing. Now they are presently in south region of Karnataka, Bangalore. I'm extremely glad and honored to speak out the achievement of our dignified guest, Mr. Manjunath, who present over here to make this program more meaningful. Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you, one and all.
We are very happy that Mr. Manjunath decided to join us at the panel discussion today. Next, I would like to call upon Harsh Verma to introduce Dr. Prajwal Sabnis, co-founder of Oxtra Energies.
Hello everyone. My name is Harsh Verma from second year pursuing Information Science and Engineering. It is an honor and privilege to have Dr. Prajwal Sabnis with us today. He co-founded Oxa Energies in 2015 and conceived its flagship product, the Mantis, a zero-emission electric performance motorcycle. The Mantis is India's first fully electric naked sports motorcycle. It was unveiled at India Bike Week 19, Asia's biggest motorcycle event, in front of 20K plus visitors and with extensive press coverage. He has been the architect behind and building the development of innovative products at Oxa. He holds a PhD in material mechanics from Mainz, Paris Tech, a Master of Science in Computational Mechanics from the University of Stuttgart, Germany, and a bachelor's degree in Mechanical Engineering from SMVIT Bangalore, and has also published several technical papers. His area of interest lies in electrical mobility systems, material modeling, numerical mechanics, and energy systems. He has 14 years of academic research and industrial experience. He led a technological team enabling the development of new competencies and undertaking the industry university collaborative research projects. Sir has a management experience in the aerospace industry and has worked with many international teams. I feel proud to tell you that he is an alumnus of Sir SMVIT. We all wish to learn something from you, sir. We are really thankful to you, sir, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend today's discussion panel. Hope this session is informative for all of us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It's always inspiring to hear that someone with so many credentials can have the same interests as you and I. I would now like to call upon Shreyansh to introduce Ms. Ranjita Ravi, co-founder of Oxtra Energies.
Hello everyone. This is Shreyansh Gupta from second year, and today I have the privilege of introducing one of our guest speakers. She is not new to us because she is one of the successful graduates of our college. Ms. Ranjita Ravi is the co-founder of Oxa and conceived its flagship product Mantis, a zero-emission electric performance motorcycle. Ma'am is responsible for scaling the business within the company's India, South Asia, and Southeast Asia operations, and also oversees other organizational affairs. An accomplished leader, she has over 14 years of experience working across several industries internationally. Prior to co-founding Oxa, she was with AB InBev, working on risk and internal audits. At Traxon, as the biopharma lead analyst, she was responsible for startup analysis and research that involved assessing business models, therapeutic areas, and funding. She led internal audit terms at Sanofi Paris, where she executed multiple assignments across 20 countries. She has experience in fields such as CSR, marketing, and technology. Ma'am holds a bachelor's degree in biotech from Sir MVIT Bangalore and an MBA from ESSEC Business School, Paris, France. She is an avid biker and travel enthusiast. Her interests also includes classical music and art. If one takes a closer look at the characteristics of the achieving persons, several virtues come to mind. Perseverance and hard work, and ma'am is a living example of them. I hope your words of wisdom will enlighten the audience present here, and your guidance will definitely help us in achieving right direction for the coming future. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for joining us today, ma'am. It's always motivating to hear about someone with so much ambition. I now call upon Aradhya Singh to introduce Mr. Srinivas BV, Managing Director of Aspartica Biotech Private Limited.
First of all, good morning to our honorable panel members, the teachers, and everyone present here. I am Aradhya Singh from second year Information Science and Engineering Department. I am pleased to welcome the Managing Director of Spartica Biotech Private Limited, Mr. Srinivas BV, who has truly set a benchmark for great achievement in his career. He is a member of the Research Advisory Board at our college, Sarya Vishvesharaya Institute of Technology, Bangalore, Biotech Department, and also a director at Somi's Kitchen Private Limited. Sir Srinivas BV holds a bachelor degrees in biotechnology from Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology, Bangalore, and MBA in Operation Management from Institute of Chartered Financial Analysis of India, University. Also did his masters from Sarya Vishvesharaya Institute of Technology, Bangalore. Sir has won numerous accolades in his career, including the Emerging Stars of the Years Award 2020, the National Entrepreneurship Award 2019, the Smart Bio Award, and many more. He is a global winner in the Waste Beneficiation category by United Nations Organization. Besides, Sir represented India and Japan and USA with his expertise and has brought several laurels to India while working in his streams. Furthermore, Sir has worked in various engineering and management roles and fields such as supercritical fluid extraction technology and novel food products, and also mentored over 46 projects funded by the central government and many other agencies. He is really an inspiration for us. Today, he'll be sharing with us his expert opinion of innovation and the startup ecosystem. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation to address our students who will start another new chapter in their life. So please welcome Mr. Srinivas BV. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Your success story tells us how far us as students have to go and how much more we have coming. I would now like to call upon Harshit to introduce Dr. Rumana Sinha Sehgal, the founder of Serendipity.
First of all, good morning to my all present here. I am Harshit Gurguria from second year Information Science and Engineering. I would like to welcome Dr. Rumana Sinha Sehgal. Ma'am is the founder of Serendipity. Serendipity focuses on developing innovative and functional green products by recycling varied materials and creative use of non-biodegradable materials. She was a corporate professional in past, having worked at companies like Oracle and ADP for many years. She has several accolades to her name. Some of them are Karamveer Chakra by UN and ICONGO, Nelson Mandela World Humanitarian Award by Diplomatic Mission Global Peace, and Doctorate in Child and Women Empowerment. Ma'am was declared the winner of the Nationwide Women Excellence Award 2022 on the occasion of International Women's Day this year, and was recently awarded the International Women of Excellence for this year at the International Viral Awards hosted in Philippines. She is a renowned TEDx speaker, instigating for putting an end to violence against women and children globally. Ma'am is serving humanity and creating a significant impact on society over the world. And I feel proud to tell you all that she's an alumni of Sir MVIT, and we all wish to learn something from you, ma'am, today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, ma'am. You are truly an inspiration to all aspiring female entrepreneurs present in the audience today. I invite Avinash on the stage to introduce Mr. Bhuvanesh Sharma, Managing Director of VDT Pipeline Integrity.
Good morning, everyone. I am Avinash from second year ISC branch. Today on this propitious occasion, with all due respect, it's my special excitement that I am pleased to welcome Mr. Bhuvnesh Sharma to our discussion panel. So my dear teachers and mates, please give us a huge round of applause to welcome Bhuvnesh sir, who is the CEO and MD of VDT Pipeline Integrity Solution. He is not only a technology enthusiast, but also believes in passing that passion and enthusiasm to others as well, as he is also a TEDx speaker. Sir is giving us a major goal, not by just being skilled in one field, but also in many. He is also an alumnus of IIM Lucknow, having been skilled in engineering. He is also a linguistic person, being well acquainted with 5 other languages. Sir, it's our honor to have you here, and I feel grateful for having an opportunity to speak about you. So I hope today many of us will be able to grasp knowledge from your experience and get correct guidance. That will definitely help us in building a better future for all of us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, all. Thank you all, guests and dear students and all our guests. And first, I would like to thank our principal, sir. With a short notice, he has accepted our invitation and sir came here and he rendered his valuable words. And really, it is very much useful for our students, for the upcoming entrepreneurs, I can tell. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presence. Now we'll start the session with the panel discussion.
I would I would now like to initiate the part that all of us have been waiting for. It's the panel discussion on entrepreneurship. So this question is open to all the members on the dais. What journey did you have to take to actually, once you came up with an idea, to actually come this far, to make it happen, to make all of the things that we dream about come true?
Hi guys. I can very honestly and truly tell you that my entrepreneurship. Nagendra sir here, so I'm going to very confidently answer this. I think my final year, I probably had some 30% attendance. So I used to. No, no. So I used to work a lot with Nagendra sir and the rest of the department on, I think I did about 7 or 8 national conferences in IISc and all of these symposiums. We even did one with the mechanical department on rapid prototyping. So I was involved in all of those. At the same time, I started working with Janagraha, which is a NGO in Bangalore between my 7th and 8th sem break. And around that time, I thought I wanted to do something. It took a long time though after that. So after engineering, I got a job in sales. Then after my job in sales, I went to MBA. After MBA, I did the whole normal thing of doing a marketing job, doing or generally the corporate role. And by the time we got to starting Orha Energies, it was already a little while. It was already about 10 years after we'd graduated. So we did take our time to get there, but very honestly, I would say that it started at the coffee shop. I'm sure Prajwal has a slightly more saner answer, but yeah, I thought I should break the ice with that.
Thanks for that. I think for us, for me, it was more personal problem solving driven. As an engineer, you're always looking to solve problems, and traffic is a pretty tricky situation to solve. You want an electric vehicle. I think when we started thinking about doing this back then, there was only one electric motorcycle, which was pretty interesting globally, which was, I think, Zero Motorcycles. I don't know if any motorcycle enthusiasts are out there. So Zero Motorcycles was this motorcycle based out of the US. They used to do, I think, in US, they were selling at about 20 lakhs back then. And if you had to import it into India, it would have been about 30 lakhs or so. Obviously, I couldn't afford that. So that's how we kind of got started, that let's solve this problem. But that was only the first step. I think the first 1 year or so, we were about 3 people working on an idea. Then it slowly grew to about 2 people and 8 interns doing most of the work. But of course, interns that we could barely afford to pay or not pay. And then suddenly on one day we had no team, but we had some sort of a prototype already built out. So on and so forth. So it's been an interesting journey. I think funding has always been the tricky part for a hardware startup in India. From there, we've slowly come. Now we are starting to see different kind of challenges. How do you work with established players? How do you work with larger players? How do you work with production people? So it's a whole bunch of different challenges. So it's a very interesting. I'd say it's a very interesting journey with a lot of different kinds of challenges at different stages. It's not one thing that you prepare for. It's not like exam ki ye syllabus hai, you will study this and then you will pass with an exam. That doesn't work. Yeah. So that's been our journey.
Like Ranjita was mentioning, our startup journey also started at MBIT, though not in coffee shop, but in the Department of Biotechnology. So, after my BE in biotechnology, I was working for a private company in R&D department for a period of 5 years. During that time, I realized that I wanted to have my own startup, and I was looking for an opportunity and trying to raise some funds also. And with some haste, I quit the company, assuming that we can do something on our own. But with time, I realized after resigning, I realized that we need a lot of money, even to register a company. And during those days in 2010-11, for 10 years back, I resigned and I wanted to start off. That time I realized there are so many hurdles to have a startup. So though you could get some money, around 50,000-60,000, I could raise only that much through friends and family. And first thing, I went to an auditor and asked, how do we start off? And he said, you should get a place. First, you have a place of office for yourself. I'm telling about this because it is about startup and incubation center. So then I went to landlord and asked to lease out his premises. He gave an agreement and all those things. When we were about to register private limited company, he had to give an NOC telling that this office is eligible for registration, address as a private company. He was pissed off. He said, "Why should I register my building to your company name?" They didn't even understand the concept. So that's how the situation is in India. And we went to several banks asking for loan. They always say you should have a startup, 3 years of experience with 3 years of profit in the balance sheet and all those things. That's the time when I thought nothing is going to work out. I'll go to Department of Biotechnology asking if there is any job. So I came to Professor Nagendra to ask if there is any part-time teaching opportunity or full-time teaching opportunity. Then he said, earlier we used to hire BE graduates. Now VTU has made it mandatory to have PGs. So better you do whatever you want to do. So you use all the facilities here. And that's the time Department of Biotechnology was starting MTech degree. So became the first student of MTech Biotechnology and Biochemical Engineering, during which we started working on all the ideas that we had. But as my team panelist was also mentioning, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So Professor Nagendra was always encouraging us to attend seminars and write projects. So we were writing projects most of the time. I was not eligible for writing the grants, but we made a team with BE students, with faculties. We started writing projects. The first project we got about 8,000 rupees with jointly with one of the professor. And slowly we started getting small grants. And by the time I completed my MTech, I had 5 or 6 grants, projects, reports, results, everything together. During that time, Department of Biotechnology had called for a proposal, Biotechnology Ignition Grant. So that is the first time people started talking about incubation centers. Though you don't have a space of your own, you come to an educational institution like MBIT, have a place of your business and all those things. So we applied for a biotechnology ignition grant. All the work that we did for past 2 years with other students, faculties, and my MTech degree together, compiled everything. During that process, also I was not confident of getting a funding or anything. I had taken up a job through our placement cell. So I was working in a software company, Cerner Healthcare. So that's the time my professor always used to write mails to me, thinking that I had a lot of hopes on you. You also, like any other student, went behind money and all those things. So just to satisfy my professor's ego, I wrote the proposal, honestly. And after writing that proposal, I got invitation from biotechnology department asking for, they gave me 15 days time. Then I thought it is not good for me to continue the job. I have to do justice to the proposal I have made. I quit the job and I took 15 days time to completely prepare for the presentation, and I attended it. And first time we got a grant of 50 lakhs. So under biotechnology ignition grant, that was the beginning. So that is how we started our journey. And likewise, I started getting a lot of alumni joining me in the team. And I have about 8 alumni working with me from the Department of Biotechnology. They also followed the similar lines, and they have got their own grants. And with multiple projects, we were able to hold the team intact and get adjusted and get knowledge about wider aspects. So every time there is a call for proposal, even though it is related or not, we sit with Department Biotechnology faculties and other friends, discuss if there is something we can do. So sometimes it comes up, sometimes it doesn't come up. We always try to write a project. So based on all those things, we develop multiple product lines right now. So with the help of all these things, we have established a production unit in Dodbalapur industrial area. We have been doing decently well, but during COVID, again there was a problem for us because we were into poultry, aqua, nutrition. We were doing products from waste management. We were not getting access to farmers and our raw materials. That is where we slightly modified our business plan. We started making immunity boosters, making sanitizers. That's how we could again survive. And during this period, we also realized there were a lot of sick industries. That is the time we took over a UK-based food industry, and right now we are running both the companies. So this is how our journey started. And
Thank you so much for telling us about your journey, sir. Would the members on the online dais like to share their journeys with us today?
Namaskar to everyone present there. Am I audible?
Ma'am, you're audible.
All right. A very good morning to everyone present there, the principal of Sir MVIT, the faculty members, as well as the esteemed panelists. I firmly believe that only when you have a greater vision will you be able to be driven to achieve it. We need to have bigger dreams. I'm Ramana Sinha Sehgal, a social entrepreneur, an engineer, an artist, a sculptor, a writer, a poet, at times a musician, a singer, and a dancer as well, and yes, a mother of two boys. Above all, I'm a woman driven with a purpose to create and celebrate art that has a social value, build experiences, as well as spin a social impact over a larger set of people. As a daughter of the Indian Armed Forces, I've always valued discipline, courage, harmony, and country above all. After schooling, I graduated with top honors from Sir MVIT. Yes, I'm an alumna of SMVIT, the first batch of 1995 of IEM, Industrial Engineering and Management. Soon after graduation, I joined the corporate sector and was working with multinationals like Oracle and ADP as a software engineer as well as an HR professional. The timeline of my work has taken me through several tributaries. I chose to follow multitudes based on what I felt passionate about. The conventional norm and belief being all else, I continue to thrive on the other side of the spectrum. After spending several years in the IT industry, I was at the high point of my success in my career line. However, I was at a career crossroad in the year 2006 after my first son was born. I embraced motherhood with utmost thankfulness to God. I returned to work after maternity break. However, something had changed. The mundane tasks of the regular desk job did not actually seem to satisfy me enough. So, I took a career break and focused all my energies in bringing up my eldest son. They say children are the best teachers. As my eldest son grew up and started school, the desire to help him and do his best took over. Being a progressive school, there was a lot of experiential learning that was involved, and every day was either a show and tell competition and probably one of these inter school competitions. On one such occasion, my elder one Nahir came up to me and asked me if I could create an elephant that looked more like the real thing from every direction. So probably he was referring through a three-dimensional piece rather than just a sketch or a drawing. This got the active engineer and the dormant artist in me thinking. Multiple experiments later, with several tries, I was able to create a 3D sculpture, mostly from scrap and all that I could find at home. This ignited something in me, and soon enough, I found my team in a group of carpenters, and having trained them tirelessly, we started creating recycled art, sculptures, and installations, mostly from scrap. This humble and encouraging start was how Serendipity was born in the year 2012, and I transitioned into being a social entrepreneur. As the time went by, I found an innate need to be working with the community. And this basically came from a very early experience of working with children with special needs when I was working on a social value project way back in school through Bharat Scouts and Guides. And hence, I traversed another tributary, driving initiatives, especially in the zone of gender equality and to stop violence against women and children. And also started collaborating with organizations in the area of healthcare, oral dental hygiene, and menstrual hygiene as well. Somewhere down the line, I found that I required a bigger platform. And guess what? There was an opportunity to enter into the Mrs. India 2017 pageant. And that's what I did. Fearless, with no experience, a social entrepreneur from India, from Hyderabad, I filled up that form and walked away with the winning title of Mrs. India Universe 2017, Further went on to represent India at Mrs. Universe, won the top honors there as Mrs. Universe successful in 2018. This particular platform gave me another avenue to take my work to the masses. I had now become a voice and I had found myself a stage wherein I could reach out to the community and to the larger set of people. And that is how my journey has transitioned into me winning the Karamveer Chakra, which has been instituted by Rex and UN and iCongo. And it gives me immense pleasure to be present in this immense panel and share this journey with you all. Thank you.
Manjunath sir, would you like to share your journey with the audience? Manjunath sir, would you like to share your journey with the audience present here today? Bhuvanesh sir, would you like to share your journey with the audience present here today?
First of all, मेरे जितने कलीग यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं जो पीछे गर्दन घुमा के मुझे देख रहे हैं, मैं सॉरी बोलना चाहूंगा उनसे कि इट इज नॉट माय फॉल्ट. So, myself Bhuvnesh Sharma, I'm managing director of VDT Pipeline. Basically, we do pipeline inspections. What kind of pipeline inspection? It is the oil and gas pipeline inspection, basically. There are a lot of pipeline where the hydrocarbons flow, which is just coming from one refinery to another refinery. Even these pipelines are feeding to your gas cylinders, your kitchens, and everywhere. So we are in the inspection domain of the pipeline currently, and basically we are an innovator. ये जर्नी कैसे स्टार्ट हुई? आई हैव ए क्वेश्चन फॉर यू, जिसने मुझे हिलाया था. आई वांट टू नो दैट ये जलियांवाला एक हत्याकांड हुआ, वो किसने किया? एनीवन कैन आंसर? जलियांवाला हत्याकांड किसने किया? एनीवन कैन आंसर? I didn't hear actually.
Sir, can you come again, please?
Are you audible? I am audible, huh?
Mr. Bhuvanesh, I get your question. I think it is the general understanding that we had General Dyer, who actually conspired the whole thing. That is the understanding of the general public forum.
जनरल डायर हमको पढ़ाया गया.
हाँ, हमें पढ़ाया गया, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं आप. जो हमने लिखी किताबों में पढ़ा है, उस हिसाब से हमारी जो समझ है वो यहीं तक सीमित है कि जनरल डायर वाज द पर्सन हु एक्चुअली कंस्पायर्ड द होल जलियांवाला बाग इशू.
यू आर वेरी राइट. जनरल डायर हमको पढ़ाया गया, लेकिन
करेक्ट,
ये जानकर हमें बड़ा दुख होता है कि जनरल डायर ने एक गोली नहीं चलाई.
सही बात है.
जितनी गोलियां चलाने वाले लोग थे वो हम लोग थे. ये हिलाता है अंदर से. आर वी डूइंग द सेम थिंग टुडे? माय आंसर इज यस, वी आर डूइंग द सेम थिंग टुडे एज वेल. हाउ? कैसे कर रहे हैं? वी आर वर्किंग विद द कंपनीज हु आर किलिंग आवर MSMEs. Number one. We are working outrightly with those companies who are killing the Indian companies, right? 135 करोड़ के देश में हम एक राफेल नहीं बना पाते. एक छोटा सा कंट्री फ्रांस हमको वो दे रहा है, जो हमारे उत्तर प्रदेश में मेरे ख्याल से 4 या 5 फ्रांस समा जाएंगे. ये मेरे लिए शर्म की बात थी. I started my journey in 2017 to build some kind of technologies. It is not a single technology which I built till date. I already have 5 patents on my name. But उसके पीछे जो zeal है वो ये है कि मैंने कोई आइडिया नहीं सोचा था. मतलब मेरे दिमाग में कोई आइडिया था कि मुझे ये करना है, मुझे ये मैं इस तरीके की टेक्नोलॉजी बनाऊंगा. लेकिन हाँ, मैं अंदर से जरूर इतना हिला हुआ था कि मैं कुछ भी कर सकता था. और जहां पे आपकी फीलिंग हर्ट हो, जिस जगह पे भी, हर एक की फीलिंग अलग अलग हो सकती है, जिस जगह पे आपकी फीलिंग हर्ट हो, जहां पे आप खुद हर्ट हो, उस चीज को अपना आइडिया बनाइए, और दैट विल डेफिनेटली सक्सेस. That is my story. And as far as the innovation concern, we are doing a lot of things right now, and we are one of the startup in the country which having PSU support. We having investment from Gas Authority of India Limited, and Gas Authority is our main client in the country as well. Secondly, we also partnered with the ONGC. ONGC is also our client as well, and we are exporting a lot of things right now. That's me. Thank you.
So, as
So we'll start with the tougher challenge, which is the electrical part. And slowly somehow we transition to the fact that it's harder and easier to just say electric motorcycle. And at that time, we struggled quite a bit to get lithium-ion packs in India. And I still remember I put the last of my savings into just importing the packs. So as we went along, what we realized was there are just not enough good enough batteries being made in India. So the kind of pack that we put all our money into and imported was basically lithium cells which were packaged with foam, and I mean, at least these days you get it in shrink wrap kind of a material. When we imported it, they had just basically taken PVC tape and ducted the whole thing and sent it to us, right? And so at that time, what we realized was you need to have much better quality if you are going to have any sort of reliability on the road, because we know the quality of the roads that we have. We got around to making our own batteries, and then that transitioned into a whole thing, because there goes, once we started saying that we want performance and we want reliability from key systems like batteries, it took a life of its own. We developed our own electronics which control the batteries. We decided that we want to make proper engineering from the metal enclosures kind of perspective, and that now has transitioned into a revenue stream for us on its own. We actually make batteries for drones, for some defense vehicles, for leisure vehicles. We've actually built and deployed, about 5 full 1-ton vehicle systems for some defense applications. So these are things that you wouldn't see on our website or anywhere in public, because we don't talk much about it. But that whole thing came out of a single problem that we faced at that point of time, where we got this battery which we spent a lot of money on, and we realized that it's not going to work for us, right? So this was almost 5 years ago, 6 years ago, right? So this was around 2015, 2016 time. So from 2016 to now, so over 5 years, we've gone to not only engineering our own electronics, our own batteries, but now we are supplying it to drones as well, right? So I think some of our drones are being, some of our batteries are being deployed for agricultural spraying purposes. We've given now batteries to defense applications. Some of our batteries were deployed in the swarm drone competitions in Pokhran, for example. So it's a whole bunch of things that led from one challenge to the other. Similarly, we had challenges on other electronic systems as well. We continue to have other challenges on very core, reliable, hard electronic systems. So for me at least, and for many of my colleagues, we are pure mechanical engineers. We are trying to solve a problem in electrical domain and core electronic systems.
While writing back-end code.
Yeah, while my CTO sits and writes backend code, he writes code for server maintenance. He does Python, whatever, data analytics.
He's a Mickey.
Yeah, he's a Mickey. So he writes code for data analytics. He does server maintenance. We actually have our own IoT system where we get data for all our batteries, all our vehicles through the mobile phone that we have. I have one guy writing apps for the Android system. So it's a lot of learning that happens, and a single problem can allow you to come up with a lot of different solutions. Because I think I want to take this opportunity to put one misconception out there. Whenever you see all these VC panel discussions, or whenever you see all the startup events, everyone talks about, oh, how a startup should address one big problem, one big challenge. I think that's a myth as a founder that I would really like to put out there and call it out. There is no one big problem you can solve, right? A problem never comes by itself. It comes with a whole bunch of associated problems. You may very well put it out there, and you may show that we just had to build a vehicle, we just had to build a product because no one was answering that challenge. That's just packaging. As a founder, you have to be willing to accept that if you assume you're going to go into a company and solve one problem, mentally you should be prepared to say this will involve you solving maybe 100 other problems linked to that one problem. So this is something I want to sort of take a chance to put out there.
I mean, the whole big hairy problem that is very packaged and nicely done in your Harvard Business Reviews and other articles are just, again, very slick marketing. Okay, the reality, as any founder will tell you, is very much larger and hairier. It's like wrestling a gorilla every day. Okay, pretty much. I mean, running a startup is running like wrestling a gorilla every day, except the gorilla gets larger every single day. Okay. At the beginning of the company, it might just be very simple admin things like, where is our office? What does it mean to have a chartered accountant or a company secretary? What does it mean to issue shares? What does it mean to do fundraising? What is a profit and loss statement, and why does that matter to me as a founder? Who will you hire? How will you hire? How do you retain them? Okay. What does talent mean? How are you going to manage this talent to reach the objectives of the company? Is the product bigger than the team, and the team is bigger than an individual who is always bigger than the founder? Right? And every single team member, whether it's my housekeeping staff or my CTO, they are always more important. Whether it's our vendors whom we sit and argue with or fight with or beg or cajole or cry to give the stuff, or our customers who refuse to pay us for about 9 months after we deliver the product. Okay, the gorilla gets bigger every day. Okay, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this to prepare you. Please start up. Okay, if you think it's safer to just sit on a desk job 9 to 5, it might be safer, but you have from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. to do your thing. You can do 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can do a job, but 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. you still have to do everything you want to do. Figure out what you want to do. We were bootstrapped for the first 2.5 years. I had a full-time job. When you introduced me, you said I was working in AB InBev and Traction. When I was working in AB InBev and Traction, him and our CTO were working without a salary with those interns trying to figure out our first product. But we had already started the company by then. We were bootstrapped. So 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. is still yours. Okay. Just remember, the challenge is that the gorilla gets bigger every day. And then you get board members, then you start raising series funding, and then the board members start to push their own agenda. Product, marketing, distribution. Then from just having just a few customers, you start having a distribution network, and you start wondering how to manage them. It's an interesting thing every day, but the way to get through it is just to be ready to learn. If our mechanical engineer CTO does his backend development, Okay, he sits on the, I don't know how many electronics guys are here. He sits in on only one. He sits in on all the PCB reviews, from the block diagrams to the PCB routing. I'm a biotech engineer and I can tell you about what is ROHS compliant PCBs and other stuff, right? So be ready to learn because it's fun wrestling the gorilla.
The challenge is everywhere. No. Now? Yeah. So the challenge starts at home. The challenge. You are going to do a startup. Okay, you are going to do your business. You are going to leave your job. So the challenge starts at home. So you have to convince your parents, all other family members, brothers, sisters. If you are married, your wife, everyone. The challenge starts at home. It's a very big problem. The biggest problem any startup founder would face. So uh, that's the major problem I'm seeing. Not only with me, even the team members I recruit or the other people. So even now, my mother has distanced herself from me, saying that you have taken so much of loans and all those things. So even though I say I have 20 people, 21 people working for me, how much do you draw? That's the question. What is your take home salary? So this is the challenge. That's the biggest challenge anybody would face. If anybody wants to have a startup, you have to convince your parents first from now, so that they don't distract you. That's very important. The moment it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time and energy and even a lot of investments. So maybe they should not distract us during at least first 2 to 3 years of our journey. So that challenge for me, it started from home. Then the challenge started with funds. We got a small grant, though it was a 50 lakhs grant. It comes in tranches. So partially the fund problem solved. We thought 50 lakhs is a very big amount to do something. Now we realize that even 500 crores is not sufficient. So that's how. So financial planning, funds is always a problem, and there is always a solution also to these funds. Funds is, it's a challenge, but it's not a problem. We can always raise funds. So we can raise funds through bank loans, equities. There are so multiple people, but raising that fund from the right source is a very big challenge. Like Ranjita was mentioning, finding the right investor, finding the right board members, so that they don't disturb from what you're doing. Like as they already mentioned, they always ask us to have one problem and one solution and one product, which will definitely not work. We are working for only one thing, and what if that fails? What if the market changes? What if you don't get the regulatory approvals? There's so many challenges. That's how we also started. Then when we realized, again coming back to the challenge, so you got the funds, getting the right team is again a challenge. Once you set a right team, finding a place for getting the all the approvals, even after getting all the materials in place, you got pollution control board approval and everything, and you don't get a license for the product. So then that's how, because we were working on waste materials, making a nutraceutical from a waste material, there's so much of challenges. So we have to convince so much of regulatory authorities. So there is always a time. You put an application, the regulator has 30 days time to reply. Then again you answer it even the next day, again he has 30 days to reply. So every 30 days is an expense of 10 to 15 lakhs for an entrepreneur. So it's a challenge. That's where one has to have multiple products. That's why multiple products is very important. Immediately during such times when we had regulatory issues, we started working on human nutrition, which we thought regulatory hurdles were there. Immediately we shifted to animal nutrition. Immediately we could make some revenue from there for the company. Likewise, we need to shift the goalpost sometimes here and there, and always get back to the actual goalpost which we are looking at. I mean, always we should plan for multiple products and textbooks may not be the same, but the principles are same. But we need not work on the same field or same equipments, but we use the same principle. We can make multiple products which is not there in the textbook. Right now, we are focusing on food and nutrition and so many other products that we don't read in the textbook, but still it is there. The principles, basic fundamentals are there in the textbook, but we need to go beyond that. We need to look at the execution and application part of that. That may not be there in the textbooks. That's where is an opportunity for a startup. So keep the challenge itself is to keep searching for the challenge.
You brought up the very interesting point of convincing parents. As a founder, you have to be willing, you have to realize that it's not just about your own parents. So as your team grows, you'll realize that you also have to think about what your employees' parents are saying, because I know how many people have left us and have refused our offers at the last minute because they have to keep their parents happy. So as your team grows, as your group grows, you also have to start thinking about your employees, their ambitions, their parents. It's a very interesting challenge.
It's the same problem even now. Most of the times, even after giving an offer, the candidate comes and tells to me, "You convince my parents." And I always get women who tell, "Can you talk to my husband once?"
Bhuvanesh sir and Ramana ma'am, would you like to tell us about the challenges
Okay.
while
Yes. I'm agree with that. Gorilla is getting bigger every day, so it is very right. I see it little differently, but it is a kind of a space journey. It's a kind of a spacecraft. Till 8 kilometer, you need 3 or 4 booster rockets with them, and thereafter, when you cross the first orbit, there is another challenges in the second orbit. You cross the second orbit, there are another challenges in the third orbit, and the orbit is getting bigger each and every day. So it's a kind of जब भी आप इस तरीके की हम कहते हैं challenges, it's a kind of learning every day. What I am looking at my point of view, I do learn each and every day. कभी मुझे अपनी पूरी टीम को सपोर्ट करना होता है, कभी किसी एक व्यक्ति को मुझे उसमें से थ्रेटन करना होता है. थ्रेटन इज नॉट लाइक कि मैं लिटरली थ्रेटन कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन कभी मुझे किसी को डांटना होता है, किसी को प्यार करना होता है. इट्स ए काइंड ऑफ जर्नी विद दिस जस्ट लाइक मदर एंड फादर. आप एक पोजीशन पे बैठे हो, आप अपनी पूरी टीम के लिए आप रोल प्ले करते हो जस्ट लाइक फादर. कभी बच्चे को डांटते हो, कभी प्यार करते हो, है ना. ये टीम के साथ में ऐसा चलता रहता है. बट एज फार एज द इनोवेशन कंसर्न, the other kind of challenges you face, है ना. आपने डिसाइड किया कि भाई इस तरीके का इस प्रोडक्ट में मैं ये चीज चेंज करूंगा तो इसमें ये बेटरमेंट हो जाएगा. जब बेटरमेंट की बारी आई तो पता लगा लास्ट टाइम पे वो फेलियर है. यू इन्वेस्टेड योर 3 months with your whole team, उसके बाद you accept that failure, then the failure is a part of your journey. और ये लर्निंग जर्नी है. और अच्छी चीज ये है कि जितने फेलियर्स स्टार्टिंग में हो जाए, स्टार्टिंग फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट में हमारे जितने फेलियर हो जाए उतना ज्यादा अच्छा है. जितने हम फेलियर्स को पहले ऑर्बिट में फेस कर लेंगे वो बहुत अच्छा होगा. आई वर्क फॉर माय क्लाइंट, आई वुड नॉट से द नेम, और हमने उनको एक प्रोडक्ट दिया, उसके पैसे ही नहीं आज तक नहीं है. और दैट वाज माय आवर स्टार्टिंग जर्नी. उसमें 8-10 लाख रुपए आप कहीं किसी क्लाइंट के साथ में इन्वेस्ट कर देते हो तो उसके बाद में फिर 10 लाख रुपीस इज अ मेजर अमाउंट, और वो पैसे जब आपके पास नहीं आते हैं, यू आर अगेन एंड अगेन आस्किंग प्लीज दे दीजिए, प्लीज दे दीजिए. जब नहीं आ रहे तो यू कैन नॉट इवन फाइट. लेकिन ये जर्नी 10 लाख रुपए से छूट गई. यू आर नॉट लूजिंग. आगे आप कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा बना दोगे, यू विल नॉट लूज योर 1 crore rupees. So स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द ये जितने फेलियर्स हैं, जितने चैलेंजेस हैं, व्हेन यू स्टार्टिंग योर जर्नी उसमें आ जाते हैं तो बहुत अच्छा रहता है। आने जरूर हैं, आज नहीं आएंगे कल आएंगे। जितना लेट आएंगे उतना ज्यादा कॉस्ट करेंगे आपको, जितना पहले आ जाएंगे उतना कम कॉस्ट करेंगे। चैलेंज जर्नी सबकी एक जैसी है। we are working with IIT Mumbai, we are working with IIT Delhi, and we are even incubated in IIM Lucknow. So जो जर्नी जितने भी फाउंडर्स मुझे आज तक मिले हैं, जो चैलेंजेस की बात करते हैं, तो फर्स्ट जर्नी स्टार्ट लिटिल अप, बहुत खुशी होती है जब वो ऊपर उठ रहा होता है। कोई भी स्टार्टअप आपकी टीम आ गई होती है और सारे के सारे लोग इसके बैठ के एक आइडिया पे डिस्कस कर रहे होते हैं, फिर उसके बाद उस आइडिया को एग्जीक्यूट करने का प्लान करते हैं। देन नेचर जिसको बोलते हैं, जिसमें मदर, फादर, वाइफ और आपके दोस्त, जो करीबी दोस्त होते हैं, ये नेचर का पार्ट है। और इसको मैं प्रकृति बोलता हूँ। प्रकृति जो है आपका एग्जाम लेना शुरू करती है, और वो एग्जाम उस लेवल का होता है कि वो आपको टेस्ट करती है, लिटरली टेस्ट करती है। भाई बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस आपके सामने रखेगी, और उसके बाद में आपका एक एंड्योरेंस लेवल टेस्ट होगा। मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग में मैं ऐसे ही समझा सकता हूँ। आपका जब वो एंड्योरेंस लेवल टेस्ट होगा, वो आपकी जर्नी डिसाइड करता है कि आप किस लेवल तक पहुंचेंगे, और एंड्योरेंस लेवल जितना होगा आपका, आप उसी लेवल तक जाएंगे। और जितना ज्यादा एंड्योरेंस लेवल टेस्ट हो जाएगा बाई प्रकृति, बाई द नेचर, आप उतने ही सक्सेसफुल स्टार्टअप, आई विल नॉट से स्टार्ट, I will say these are the companies. These are the companies which is going to be unicorn of the countries, and they are lot. ये जितने लोग अभी हम ये जो एक इनोवेशन और ये जो आज की डेट में हम 5 साल से 6 साल से स्टार्टअप की बात कर रहे हैं, उससे पहले अभी हम तो जस्ट कंपनी समझते थे कि भाई हमें कंपनी खोलनी है और हमें कंपनी खोल के इसको आगे बढ़ाएंगे और इसको ग्लोबल लेवल तक पहुंचाएंगे। एंड ये जो स्टार्टअप का जो स्क्रू जो आज की डेट में इस देश में आया है, ये जरूर इस देश को किसी न किसी अच्छी पोजीशन पे लेके जाएगा, और ये मेरा मानना है। और चैलेंजेस वी शुड एक्सेप्ट, है ना। और ये these are not challenges, these are actually learn.
Romana ma'am, would you like to tell us about the challenges you face as a female entrepreneur?
I wouldn't say that it was a challenge only as a female entrepreneur, but yes, as an entrepreneur, and my views are definitely in sync with what the other panelists had to say. I would call it as a privilege to be an outlier to a statistical conventional graph, because being a first generation entrepreneur, having the conviction of breaking away from what the norm is and what it was, I'm talking about like maybe a decade before, earlier. It was different, and it's very important to know, everybody knows what they do, but it's very important to know why they do it. And as an artist and as a social entrepreneur, I realized that mine was the pursuit of a greener and a cleaner world, a peaceful world, incorporating my way through recycled art, creating a social impact, finding a meaning to my words, writing poetry. But the biggest upstake there was, having people talk about, like one of the panelist members mentioned, having multiple products. But here I was juggling having parallel careers at the same time and trying to make a success out of it. And I think that has been a high point in driving me and making it a success, because I was dealing with parallel careers, of course, for myself as well as for the organization, and working with people with different skill sets across various areas. So what worked for me is probably curiosity, experimentation, exploration, and I would say, overcoming these roadblocks was having the belief that your biggest strength is your Shakti, and you being your own accelerator, critique, and wall at the same time, and traversing through different avenues, multiple potentials, and resilience and perseverance is the way forward. So those are my views and how I took it forward.
So for the members of the dais, I have to ask, how did you approach the people that you approached for financial aid? First of all, like sponsorship alone is a very big issue, but also how did you approach these people and like who guided you throughout this process?
So let me take that one. Uh, who you raise funding from really depends on what your product is and what you want to do. Okay, so we have an electric vehicle. It's manufacturing products. It's asset heavy. It's all of that. So he has a biotech product. That's also very different and it has a long life cycle, right? Depending on what product you have, the type of investment you need to raise is different, and who has the willingness to give you this kind of investment is hence different. Okay, so it's like dating. It is like dating. You need to figure out who is a good fit for you. Okay, so whether your values match, whether your timelines match, whether your timeline to exit matches. Okay, it is exactly the same words that are used. So you need to find an investor who is investing in your sector or in your type of product. Okay, there is no point in looking at an investor who is not interested in your product or who's, it's a waste of your time. You need to find an investor whose timelines are similar to yours. Okay, because they might have very short timelines. Like they might give you a small amount of money and they need that money out of you in some time. So just like you invest in, say, a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit, these investors invest in startups, which means they need a certain return in some time. Okay, or you need to look at other types of funding. So like a grant funding, which is non-dilutive funding. So it's a grant, it's given by very large institutions, say like the government, or very large, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, etc. These are very large institutions, they give you grants. Obviously, they expect certain results and milestones in the way. It does not dilute your equity. Or you can look at debt. So if you're just looking at turning something, so you're looking at trading, you're looking at buying something, adding a little value to it and selling it, right? Then maybe debt might work for you, okay? Which is like you take something on a loan, you take some money on a loan, buy the things that you need to, sell it at a certain profit, and the interest for your debt comes out of that profit, okay? And equity funding is where you give up a piece of your company, you give up a piece of your ownership to somebody for money, and they expect it back, say, in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. Okay, so these are basically the different types of funding, and all of this depends really on what you want to build. All of the funding that Orha has raised, so we've raised about 4 rounds of funding. All of the funding that we have raised has been equity funding. So the first investment, so to speak, that we did was pretty much our own money. Okay, so we were working for 10 years, etc. I told you we were bootstrapped for the first 2.5 years. All the money that we put into the company was basically from our earnings and our savings before that, right? Like Prajwal was just saying, he put the last bit of his savings to buy like the battery packs, which didn't really meet the requirements, things like that, right? And every round of funding so far has been a what is called as equity funding or what is called as a dilutive funding. So basically, you give up a piece of your ownership. And giving up a piece of your ownership obviously comes with its own terms and conditions, right? Just like having a loan comes with terms and conditions, or getting a grant from the government comes with certain terms and conditions. One of our funding rounds was from GAIL, which is the oil and gas public sector unit. And they have a lot of requirements in terms of reporting, obviously because the investment that they do literally comes from taxpayer money. So they get funds from Invest India, which has set up a fund of funds, and GAIL invests through that into startups, which means that there is a lot of reporting, and pretty much our financial reports, our performance reports go to the PMO's office. It goes to the Prime Minister's office. So we better not be messing things up, right? So any funding obviously comes with certain terms and conditions. But the advantage of it is in terms of inorganic growth. Now, you can always grow organically, you can grow slowly, you can build your product, develop it. Say, for example, you're doing a 9 to 5 job, you take all the fundings from that, your savings from that, you put that into a product, you work 5 p.m. to 9 a.m., you start developing that, you start doing that, and you can grow slowly. That's organic growth. When you want to do inorganic growth, you need to like he said, I quit my job, I sat for 15 days and just did that. Right? That's inorganic because you wanted to get that funding. So you need to do that. But it'll help you scale faster. That's like a basic overview of funding. For us, it was very hard because nobody wants to invest in EV OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, vehicle manufacturers. It's very hard to get funding unless and until you're looking at certain strategic players. So like Ather got funding from Hero, or certain other players got funding from, say, Bharat Forge or TVS or Bajaj. These players got funding from very large strategic investors who are just trying to diversify their risk. Okay, but then that also comes with its own terms and conditions. Quick answer, not so quick answer, but yeah.
Listening to, I forgot the question. So why did we raise the? How do we convince the investors? Okay.
Yeah, that, and also
Okay.
how you
So I
approach
wanted
them,
to-
how you go about the
Okay.
entire thing.
So how do we approach an investor, and how did we approach an investor is the question. So initially we approached a lot of investors. Then we realized it's not a good idea to approach an investor in the beginning. So never approach an investor. You bootstrap, put your own money, achieve something before you talk to an investor. Because the moment you go to an investor, in the beginning itself, they will form a company. They will make you an employee again. That's how it works if you don't do any bootstrapping or directly go to an investor. So, and the best way is to put your own money, at least not money, the time, our own time, and start something with funds raised from friends and family to bootstrap something. Try to achieve something, and the moment you start going to investors and start negotiating, as the company keeps growing, their demands become less. In the beginning, if you start talking to an investor, their demands are very high. So they have their own terms and conditions. In the beginning, when Rajita was mentioning, it was like dating. Like one of the investor round in the beginning, when we had maybe after 1.5 years of our business, the investor told me, see, these are the terms he directly used. See, our investment is like a marriage. So it's like a marriage. So we are investing so much X number of crores into a company, and we want a divorce as soon as possible, and we need a very good alumni. So that's how the investment works. So that's their plan. They want to put their money. They want to exit as soon as possible. That's not what we want. So we want time, because we are startups, tech startups. We are risk-based startups. We need people who can support us during our tough times and not dictate terms and telling us this is not what I wanted and this is not what I wanted. So ideally, since you people are very young, this is the right platform. You have a very good foundation in terms of institution. There are a lot of opportunities to raise grants. So start raising grants from now itself. So many grants are available for students. You can go to several government websites. There is Nidhi Prayas, so many things for student grants are available. Student entrepreneurship programs are available. Boot camp programs are available. MSME funding is available for up to 8 to 10 lakhs. So if you can start something like that, and you prove yourself, and you start getting recognition, maybe somebody recognizes you, even your institution recognizes you and starts giving you an award, and it goes public, 10 to 20 people see you, and that's why you don't go to funders start coming to you, then you dictate terms. So that's the best way you have to follow. So you try to achieve something, make investors to come to you, and you start doing their due diligence. Right now we have about 8 to 9 investors whom we are discussing. We are saying yes and no to many people. So that's how you make a path for yourself, try to achieve something. You have your own goal posts, reach that, and automatically people will start coming to you.
with Sir Bhuvanesh and Rumana ma'am, how did you receive financial aid for your startup?
I would like to take this question. एक स्टोरी है स्वामी विवेकानंद की। जब स्वामी विवेकानंद यूएस में थे तो एक लेडी उनके पास आई और उन्होंने कहा उनसे कि भाई मैं आपके साथ शादी करना चाहती हूँ। तो स्वामी विवेकानंद ने कहा कि आप मेरे साथ शादी क्यों करना चाहती हैं? उन्होंने कहा मैं आपके जैसा तेजस्वी पुत्र पैदा करना चाहती हूँ और हम हमारी शादी के बाद जो पुत्र होगा। तो स्वामी विवेकानंद ने उनसे बड़ा क्लियरली कहा कि मैं इसकी तो आपको जरूरत ही नहीं है पुत्र पैदा करने की, तेजस्वी पुत्र पैदा करने की शादी के लिए, तेजस्वी पुत्र पैदा करने के लिए शादी की आवश्यकता नहीं है। मैं आपको अपनी माँ मान लेता हूँ, आप मुझे अपना पुत्र मान लीजिए। हमारा जो पुत्र होगा वो तेजस्वी होगा या नहीं होगा हमें पता नहीं, लेकिन अगर आप मुझे तेजस्वी मानती हैं तो मैं आपको अपनी माँ मान लेता हूँ और आपका पुत्र बन जाता हूँ। यू शुड नो कि आपको किस इन्वेस्टर को, किस रिलेशन को किस पॉइंट पे बिठाना है, किस रिलेशन को। इट इज जस्ट टाइप ऑफ रिलेशन एज बोथ ऑफ द पैनलिस्ट जस्ट सेड, इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ रिलेशन, है ना। आपको पता होना चाहिए कि कौन आपके लिए किस पॉइंट पे बैठने के लिए अच्छा है। अच्छा या बुरा कोई नहीं है, एवरीबडी वांट्स प्रॉफिट। बिजनेस में कोई भी आपके पास आ रहा है वो पैसे के लिए आ रहा है, उसको 10 रुपए लगा के 100 रुपए बनाने का है। सेम यू आर डूइंग विद योर पैशन, और आपके पैशन को जो सपोर्ट कर रहा है उसका एक सिंपल सा मतलब, सिंपल सा एक एम है कि ही वांट्स टू ग्रो देयर मनी एंड ही इज इन्वेस्टिंग इन यू एंड योर पैशन, दैट मनी, और उस मनी को ग्रो करना आपकी ड्यूटी है। तो अल्टीमेटली, और ये इंडिया में आपको पैसा मिल रहा है, और पहले ऐसी चीजें अवेलेबल नहीं थी। जब व्हेन आई वाज स्टार्टेड, आई वेंट टू बैंक, और बहुत सारी प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट मैंने बैंक्स को दी है, और दे रिजेक्टेड मी आउटराइटली। लेकिन नाउ पिछले 3 साल में या 4 साल में देयर आर लॉट ऑफ फंड अवेलेबल for you guys, and a lot of institutions, lot of other private companies are supporting, PSUs are supporting. So there is money in the market. It on up to you how you want to crack it. That's it.
Mine would probably be an intersection between what Mr. Bhuvanesh said and what Mr. Srinivas said. It's very important to join the dots at the right time and connect appropriately, of course. And as a social entrepreneur and as Serendipity being a social entrepreneurship enterprise, it has been self-funded. And, like what Mr. Srinivas said, it's very important that you understand the relationship very clearly and get the right investor and at the right point in time, because there is a mutual benefit relationship which you need to seek. And as an early startup, when you think of actually establishing, I think what worked for us is being self-funded and then take it forward with collaborations ahead. And that's how I, have built a platform for our organization.
A few more points to the question of how you approach investors. I'm assuming most of you are going to be first-time entrepreneurs. Anyone here has already started and failed at a startup? Okay. So the first point is you have to be prepared to accept a lot of failure. There are more than enough, there are literally thousands and thousands of advisors, pitch decks on how to make a pitch deck, what to include in a pitch deck, how much to raise for, how to make a business plan, etc. The resources, a lot of them are available. Learn from them, but more importantly, experiment. Experimentation is not just about the product itself. It's about how you build your business plan. So when you go to the first maybe 10, 100, depending on your luck, maybe 1,000 investors, they will poke holes in your business plan and in your thesis, and you need to take it as a learning experience to see where your so you need to be able to critically evaluate what you have missed. Trust me, you would have missed things. Okay, and you have to be as thorough as possible at each attempt, and you have to do it in earnest. Uh, Initially, you would have thought, as a manufacturing product, you would have said, this will be my manufacturing cost, and then this is my people cost, etc. Maybe you understood the market. Maybe you underestimated the market size, or the cost of distribution, or the cost of getting new customers. So you have to be thorough, and you have to be ready to have people call your model wrong. Okay, so that is one. You have to be able to you have to approach a lot of people. Nobody, most people tell you that you have to go with warm introductions. I know that the first 5 investors I pitched to were very warm introductions with people who knew us very well, with whom we had worked, who had introduced us. That didn't go anywhere. Okay, so obviously you can only get so many introductions. You have to be able to go, cold call people, email them, meet them at random places, see them at an event, see them here, see them there. Wherever you can, try to pitch your product, place your product. So a lot of trial and error is involved when you're approaching, and how you approach them. And after each pitch, or say after each 2 or 3 pitches, so that's how you approach them. Once you approach them, you have to be willing to revise it. So you approach 5 people, something is not working out, go back to the drawing board, see what has changed, what you want to change, what you want to improve, then go back into the market, etc. That is one approach. The second point, so I can still tell you that if you look at our first pitch decks from about 7 years ago, the content is pretty much the same in what we want to achieve, what we are trying to pitch. But earlier, whatever was a plan or a theoretical model, now we have something actual to kind of support it or back it up, etc. So that's our story. Your story could be different. Another thing that is very important as a product startup, I mean, I don't know about the other soft skill startup or social startup, etc. But from a product perspective, you need to know what your strengths are, right? So we spoke a lot about approaching VCs or other investors or partners, or this one for funding. But you really need to know what your strengths are. For us, for example, we have a very strong tech team, right? So our engineering is kind of our strength. What we have been lucky with is that we actually have a lot of customers who could benefit from the skills we have, right? And they may be actually looking at using technology that we are already developing for ourselves, but that they have a need there that they can. So there is opportunity for collaboration, which basically means that you have someone who's willing to pay you to develop something that will be useful to you as well as to them. Don't shut those opportunities out, because that gives you multiple levels of advantages as a product startup. It allows you to validate your approach. It allows you to build your company's revenue streams. It allows you to build resilience. It allows you to build credibility, because you can put a product out on the market very quickly. One thing that is common wisdom is true is that no matter how much you engineer or over-engineer a product, the moment you give it to someone who's not part of your company, who's not your engineering team, who will handle it with care, the moment it goes into a third party's hands, they will handle it in a way you have not imagined it. You would not have imagined that this is the problem that's going to occur. And it still happens to us, and our batteries have been out there for almost 3-4 years now. Yeah. So do not rule out the possibility that someone may be willing to collaborate with you, where you bring the development ability and someone else brings the money, and both of you profit out of it. So don't ignore that part of it if you're building a product startup.
Method of raising funds is raising funds through your own customers. That's the best way of raising the fund. So now we have started working on that model, like she was mentioning about the strategic alliances. So once you achieve some place, when we have a lot of investors talking to you, if you have 4 or 5 good paying customers, you can talk to them instead of paying a hefty money to the banks and investors. We are offering that discount, cash discount, to our own customers. See, I have some good customers who say they are doing pretty well. So they say the money is lying in my current account. I don't get anything. I don't get any interest. Instead of lying in my current account, it goes to your current account and you start supplying the materials to me. So that way we give them a very good cash discount. That is one of the best way of raising funds. You have 4 or 5 good paying customers or a big player, and to have a strategic alliance. That's the best way without diluting any equity also.
So there's always a saying that debt is cheaper than equity, revenue is cheaper than both.
Prajwal sir, you spoke about how about failure, right? So did any of you as entrepreneurs have a plan B? Or at any point did you feel like you were gonna fail and you didn't have a plan B?
Going to have, I mean, it's a constant worry, I would say. Look, see, the thing is, you have to realize that as an entrepreneur, you are subject to many other factors and not just your planning, because obviously you're not working in a environment which is you and you alone, right? uh, I think the last 2 years have been the biggest example of that, right? We know people with whom we started, jointly at the same time. We know colleagues in the EV industry. I personally know, or we personally know, about 10 people, of whom 4 people have shut down. 2 or 3 of them have completely pivoted. Some of them were making vehicles. Now they don't do vehicles at all. They do completely different things. But they're still surviving and growing. Even so, in our case, we got very lucky. For example, we picked up 2 very strong projects during the COVID time, as soon as the first lockdown hit. When we were seeing, I think, 30% of the startups shut down during COVID.
More.
Yeah, more. So almost 30-40%, if I'm not mistaken, the number was that, of startups shut down during the lockdown. But in our case, we got lucky that, we picked up projects because some of our customers were importing things, and the global shipping lanes completely dried up, and their project was such that you couldn't delay, or they couldn't afford to fail on the project. And we had just met them at a different event recently, and that's how we got the project. So we got lucky there. But each decision you make, you have to be aware that it could work or it could fail. What you also need to be able to evaluate is how are you looking at the failure? Are you looking at that one project could fail, that one decision could fail, and you could rectify it with something else? Or are you taking a risk where the entire company could work or not work, etc.? That depends on a person's individual appetite, right? So, I mean, depends on how much risk you're willing to undertake. If you're willing to say, okay, I will make one decision on which my entire company's survival depends, then that's up to you as a founder. But you have to also acknowledge that responsibility for the decision lies with you as a founder. Any decision in a company will lie with the founder. Are you taking a loan? Are you deciding to take a very risky project which has a very high rate of failure, but very high rate of success as well? Very beneficial if you are successful. So that entire responsibility of the decision will depend on you, and hence at any given point of time you have to be willing to sort of accept that. So that's my take on it.
The plan B is to make the plan A work. So we have a plan A. Plan B may be smaller objectives, which creates revenue for you, and you try to achieve your plan A. So I think that's the best way. But though maybe it is good for movies, but not in real life, should always have a plan B also. So if this fails, what next? So we definitely have plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, everything.
And Ramana ma'am, do you have anything to say in terms of failure?
Yes,
or
yes, sir.
plan B?
I have something on that actually. Just a minute. As far as the मेरी जो जर्नी रही है अभी तक की, उसमें मेरे पास ऑप्शन ही नहीं था कभी प्लान बी का. मेरे पास एक ही ऑप्शन था, उसको अडॉप्ट करना था. ये मेजर डिसीजंस की बात कर रहा हूँ. कंपनी में दो टाइप डिफरेंट टाइप के डिसीजंस हो सकते हैं. जितने मेजर डिसीजंस मेरे पास में रहे हैं, मेरे पास कभी प्लान बी ऑप्शन रहा ही नहीं. I was lucky or that was bad luck. I really don't know about that. But I didn't have the plan B in my 5 years of startup career. और इसके साथ में अगर मैं बात करूं कि फेलियर ऑफ द प्लान ए, छोटे मोटे फेलियर्स तो आते ही रहते हैं. मतलब कोई भी प्लान आपका 100% सक्सेसफुली एग्जीक्यूट नहीं होता. यू फेल समथिंग इन दैट. और जैसा बताया कि आपका प्रोडक्ट कभी भी 100% आपने कोई मारुति कार बनाई और वो आप चलाने लगे उसको, पहली कार बनाई है आपने और आप कहें कि ये उत्तर प्रदेश के गड्ढों में होकर निकल जाएगी, तो नहीं निकलेगी सर. तो दैट्स, आप एक लेवल पे टेस्ट करते हैं और दूसरे लेवल पे जाके जब वो कहीं ऑन रोड टेस्ट हो रहा है कोई भी प्रोडक्ट या ऑन लाइव टेस्ट हो रहा है, तो देयर आर समथिंग और आप उसको रिजॉल्व करते हो. दैट इज द प्रोजेक्ट इंप्रूवमेंट साइकिल. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ अदर वीडियोस फॉर दैट. तो ये अलग चला जाएगा बिल्कुल. अगर मैं प्रोडक्ट के इंप्रूवमेंट की बात करूंगा तो प्लान ए ही मेरे, मतलब अगर एज फार एज माय जर्नी कंसर्न, आई वुड ओनली हैव अ प्लान ए. और प्लान ए, प्लान बी, प्लान सी, मैं क्या बोलूं उसको, लेकिन मेरे पास एक ही प्लान था और जो कि मुझे करना ही था. तो दैट इज माय जर्नी.
Well, I see how I've experienced it is typically having a plan A is more like a master test plan that you have, in a typical engineering cycle. And your plan B is something which is always running in the parallel. Is always running in the parallel in the background. And when you have these key indicators coming in while you're executing your major plan, that's your plan A, would be the right time to bring on your plan B and not wait until it turns into a complete failure. So I think that has worked in a way of you bringing up things and making things work with having a parallel plan in place and having it run at the same time when you see these key points coming up in your entrepreneurial journey.
I now open the dais for questions. If any students have any questions, you can raise your hand and we'll pass the mic. We'll pass the mic to any students that have any questions.
So, do we have any questions from the audience? Audience, okay, we have.
I want to say something in that. If you have plan B, there is a high chances of failure of plan A. So this is my observation with that. If you have plan B, plan C, plan D, then the higher you will the plan A will fail. The most of the chances I see that.
Think of ideas or doing a startup, we find what is our competition and where do it, like if we are going to market, how will it survive in this kind of competition. The reason why I'm asking is that our team has been selected for Smart India Hackathon finalists and they have given us a problem statement and we are preparing for it. So we are researching what are the competition and all. So how do we prepare for that?
I mean, my answer about competition is that competition always makes you better. If you are the only person there, then you don't know how good you can be and how much better you can be. A good competitor gives you better ideas, keeps you on your toes, and helps you improve your product in ways you would not have thought of before. And you do the same for them. And in the entirety, the ecosystem benefits, right? Because you're all pushing each other to do better and better. That's of course when there's like good competition. When I'm not talking about the price cutting, gouging, killing distribution networks until there are only two companies that survive in the ecosystem. I'm not talking about that kind of a competition. I'm talking about good product competition where each one pushes the other to become better. So please analyze your competition, understand what they do, respect your competition. That's very important. Healthy amount of respect to your competition because they're not fools. They are doing the same guerrilla wrestling that you're doing every day. Respect your competition and see what they're doing better than you and see how you can improve. That's my simple take on competition. They always make you better. They just there to make you better.
See, we also faced the same question when we started up. So that's how we actually thought we should find a product which has no competition. Okay, so that's how we think. Okay, so competition is always better because if you have a competition, the customer is aware about the product, right? So the market entry is easier. You only have to see the competitive advantage. You have an advantage over a feature, advantage over the cost, advantage over any other aspects in that product. Okay, therefore your entry is very easy. Initially that's how we started, and we thought we should have a product which has no competition. And after you do something like that, it's very difficult to enter into the market, right? If you have come up with something totally new, of course it will enter, but it will take its own time. Therefore competition, if you are telling that if your product has a lot of competition, that proves that there is a lot of scope in your product, right? There's a lot of, the market is very bigger. And always in any rules of the game, there should be two goals. If there is only one goal, they'll remove that also, right? So two places should be there. If the multiple players are even better, because if the more competition is there, if you come up with a good product as a good feature in the product, those big players will come to you either to buy a part of your product or completely. That's also a good strategy to think over. Don't worry about the competition. Competition is good. If we have answered the question rightly, if there is any modification in the question, you can tell us. So, because we want to make sure that we have understood the question rightly.
Sir, the competition was the question was only that how we will like research on it, because we are making a product which is based on the students and the teachers who searching for their college jobs and which college they want to join.
Okay.
So
Maybe the question is like, how do we research for our product? Is it competent enough for the market? Are we researching right? Like, what kind of research is involved when we do a startup?
Okay, I think so. There are a couple of things. Right now, you said you're preparing for a competition, or are you looking at market competition? Which is it?
The question is, how do you study the market competition? How do you find out a competitor?
So, how you do marketing research, or say to identify which features are required, etc. One, you talk to your customers directly, who you think your customers are going to be. In this case, you said students, teachers, colleges, etc., who they're researching. Do a survey, talk to them. I mean, you're in a college, so you probably have access to 100, 200, 300, maybe 1,000 people. I don't know. Or you'll have friends in different colleges. So never go to a single source. So don't talk only to students in MVIT. I'm sure you have people who are studying in Ramaya, RV, wherever. So talk to them. Different colleges, different institutions, you'll get different inputs. You can always try to distill it down to what is common among different requirements. I would say start with those, because you know there's a greater acceptability for those features as demands. The biggest task for you would be start with identifying 2 or 3 most required requirements, and from there make a prototype, put it out as soon as you can. Either write it yourself, no matter how crude you think it is. It may or may not have the best UI in this. I'm assuming it's a software product. It may or may not have the best user interface. It may or may not have the most refined search algorithm or sort algorithm, whatever. But the first 2-3 variants, when you are kind of happy with saying, okay, I know I'm addressing these 3 features which I absolutely want in the product, push it out to a sample batch. In our case, we built our prototypes, the first prototype before we got funding. We rode it around. We were happy, not happy. We fiddled around. We showcased the first 2 versions of our prototypes, like the first 2 versions that we built in IIT Madras. When I look at photos of that product, we are like, did we actually showcase this out in the market? We are not happy about it, but we did get a lot of feedback. And this is something we have consistently done year on year. In fact, during my introduction, they said we showcased the bike at IBW. That was 2019. The idea was to hit the market at 2020, and then COVID hit, we got delayed. But if you look at the bike that went on the rides in February, and if you look at the bike we showcased in IBW, it's a complete refinement which is very different. And the reason for that is that we got so much feedback from thousands of people at IBW. They said this should not be like this is not, and this is a market which knows its requirement, right? They know what they'll pay for, they know what they will accept, what they'll not accept. So you could always, I mean, that's something I believe we absolutely have to do. Get feedback from your customers early on. You can be very confident that none of your customers will say that the first version of the product you put out is amazing, brilliant, I will take it. That never happens. That never happens. But try it out. That's the only way you will do research. Any other research, internet research, talking to people, it's very limited. It'll just give you some ideas, but you have to try, iterate. No other alternative around it.
Adding on to what was just said, I understood two separate zones. One is, of course, a product market that is there. So when it comes to product market, I would agree to what our panelists have just shared, that it's very important that we understand the competition and accept it more like, in a healthy way and work towards it. Definitely competition is good and great and should never be taken as a benchmark, because then you will be, digressing from your own goals. Now, when it comes to a human value product, like you're talking about gender sensitization or talking about violence against women and children, which is a core aspect of social entrepreneurship that I'm working on, there you cannot put in a number and say, you know what, let me compete with somebody else and up my numbers and let me go and work in a zone where the number of cases are increasing, and showcase that as a benchmark for yourself. What works there is your competitor, so-called competitor, becomes your ally, and you work in tandem to make it a success for that humanitarian key issue that you're working towards. So those are my views.
I agree with my panelists, other panelists. Actually, as far as market research, there are a lot of things available, and that depend on the product as well, and that depend on your startup, the kind of startup you are running. And that depend, more or less, that depend on your product first. Market research is one part. Second part is competitor. कॉम्पिटिटर के साथ में प्ले जस्ट लाइक डाल पात वाला जैसा, वो एक तरफ आप दूसरी तरफ आपके पास आपके वाले प्रोडक्ट पे आ गए, आप दूसरे वाले प्रोडक्ट पे चले। ये जर्नी, ये बिजनेस जर्नी है, और उसमें आप कोशिश करते हो कि यू विल बी वन स्टेप अहेड विद योर कॉम्पिटिटर। सम टाइम यू वुड बी बिहाइंड दैट, सम टाइम यू वुड बी अहेड। कई बार आप स्पेसिफिकेशन चेंज करते हो, कई बार आप अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी में छोटे-छोटे अल्टरेशन करते हो बाय सीइंग योर कॉम्पिटिटर। इट इज गुड, योर कॉम्पिटिटर शुड ऑलवेज बी योर एक्चुअल मेंटर, जो आपको बताएगा कि आपको करना क्या है, और वो पहले हिट लगाएगा, हो सकता है किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में हिट लगाएगा, हो सकता है कि किसी मार्केट में आपको हिट करे, लेकिन वो हिट आपको सिखाएगा। Competitor is always good, and market research, there are a lot of other methods available, and that depend on particular product to product. That's all.
So the buses are leaving early today, so we're going to have to wrap this up. But any students that have questions after this, our faculty will still be present here. you can continue asking questions. But before that, I would like to invite Vani Priya ma'am on stage to propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning, all. I'm Dr. Vani Priya, HOD MCA and convener of IIC, and it's my pleasure to propose vote of thanks. I would like to thank Mr. Bhunesh Sharma for taking out his time and taking part in the panel discussion. Thank you, Bhunesh, for your support, and whenever we want, he's available for us. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Ranjita and Prajwal Sabnis for their insights on the innovation and startup ecosystem. As you know, they are our alumni, and we are proud of that. And we have you here. Thank you to you to be taking part in this panel discussion. Thank you so much. And you are bringing laurels to our alma mater. I mean, your alma mater. I would like to thank Dr. Rumana for her time and sharing her views about entrepreneurship. I keep seeing her status, which depicts her awards and success as every day. Like I keep seeing her awards, so many awards she won. And if you want to see her full profile, it is available on the website. You can go through that. And she's awesome, and we are proud of you as a alumnus, MVIT alumnus. And a big thank to Dr. Sri. A big thank to Dr. Srinivas sir for supporting us from the inception of IIC. He is our mentor and ready to take part in IIC activities. Thank you, sir. Mr. Manjunath sir, actually he was busy. I mean, he was very excited to be the part of today's discussion, but due to some last minute operations, he could not join us today. But he was the reason behind this session. He only suggested us to conduct a panel discussion, and he suggested Ranjit and Prajwal's name, but we couldn't have him today. I would like to thank our management principal for always encouraging us for conducting such events in the college. I would like to thank our team, Kushagra, Ashish. I mean, I couldn't take everybody's name. Okay, thank you so much. You are the reason behind for the success of this today's event. They have been working on this for the last 3 days. You can see no electrical department people, nobody is available, but they're handling everything properly from the beginning. And this live streaming and everything is, I mean, thank you so much. I don't have words to thank them. I would like to, thank you, the team. And lastly, but not the least, I would like to thank the audience for listening to the session. For the first time, I see no student has gone out of the auditorium. Yeah, I would like to thank Dr. Sasmita for coordinating this program alone from the beginning. And I would like to thank Dr. Supriya, President, Dr. Nagendra sir, for their support, and also all the IIC members, faculty. And I would like to thank the electrical maintenance people for their support. And I would also like to thank Lakshmappa and the other housekeeping team for their support. Thank you so much.
Okay, any students that have questions and are willing to stay back, we're still passing the mic around. Please raise your hand.
Hello.
Everyone who have questions, please come in front. We can have a panel discussion, like informal kind of thing. Can you please raise your hands for questions? Okay.
Good afternoon, all. We know in the Sachin era, everyone wants to be Sachin, and now it's Shark Tank era. So every engineer has an idea of bringing startups in their mind. So engineering students, when we just go through the phone calls with my friends, we talk about a lot of startups, and many get diluted soon. And there are very few ideas which stick for weeks, months, and years. We know there are many loopholes in our system, so we know we can tackle them. But it's not technical. I'm an electrical engineer, but sometimes I know it's not my electrical engineer work. It's a management thing of startup. But I know I can do something there, and I know if we start up there, it's gonna go up. And the time is right now. I can't delay it more. But what should I do? It's like, should I manage education? Should I do that particular thing, or it's a tricky thing. So sometimes with that, we forget our dreams.
I would like to answer your question. What is your name, sir?
Could you repeat?
What is your name? Okay, I would like to answer your question. Idea हम अभी करते कैसे हैं? Startup idea in student is very most important part. हम कर क्या रहे हैं अभी कि हम सोचते हैं कि भाई हमें करना क्या चाहिए, हमें ये देखना चाहिए पब्लिक की प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है, अभी आने वाला सिस्टम्स क्या है. What I suggest to the people and I suggest to the IIM students, हमें अपना आत्म विश्लेषण करना बड़ा जरूरी है. सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन बहुत जरूरी है. आइडिया तब आए जब जिस चीज ने पास्ट में हमको कभी हर्ट किया हो. और एवरी पर्सन कैन हर्ट बाय डिफरेंट थिंग्स, है ना. किसी को गर्लफ्रेंड छोड़ के गई होगी, किसी को कहीं पे बाइक नहीं मिली होगी, किसी को कहीं पे शौचालय नहीं मिला होगा, किसी को कहीं रोड खराब दिखे होंगे, किसी को कहीं सिविल इंजीनियरिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खराब दिखा होगा, किसी को मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खराब दिखा होगा. तो जिस चीज ने हमको हर्ट किया है, और एवरी पर्सन कैन हर्ट ऑन डिफरेंट वो पर्सन टू पर्सन डिपेंड करता है, उस चीज के सॉल्यूशन को हमको अपना आइडिया बनाना चाहिए. सो दैट इज द सजेशन आई गिव टू द पीपल हु वांट्स टू स्टार्ट देयर स्टार्टअप. That is not like कि इस चीज की कमी है, ये शुरू कर लीजिए. ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन, ब्लू हाइड्रोजन, and other lot of nuclear power plant, thermal power plant, hydro power plant, solar. कमियां तो बहुत सारी हैं, but आप क्या कर सकते हो? You need to realize that first. So I think this is the answer of your question. कि what should your idea जो भी है उसने आपको कभी ना कभी अपने दिल से छुआ होना चाहिए. So that is my suggestion. That's all.
I agree with what Mr. Bhuvnesh has just said. Typically, unless and until you will not feel intensely passionate about what you want to do, unless and until it has touched your life at a certain point in time. So, sensitization towards wanting to do something will begin at a time where it has touched your heart, and it has actually opened up your mind to take it forward.
I would like to add something here as well. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It could be anything. You're an electrical engineer, you want to do an app because you want to solve a certain problem, go for it. You're an electrical engineer, you want to solve something on civil engineering side or on access to healthcare, go for it, right? Get yourself, it's practice. Entrepreneurship, being a startup founder is practice. You practice more, you'll get better at it. Okay, and there is no one idea. There is no one solution that a startup founder will have. You will have multiple problems you want to tackle at different points of your career. Just think about different startup founders who have started off one company, then moved on to something completely different, and then gone to start something completely different again, right? But practice at being a good entrepreneur. And nothing should stop you. I mean, so what if you're still in college right now?
But the system I'm looking forward is management and promotional design. So it's out of technical world.
So what?
No, I mean, we need to give proper, like, I can't directly jump into the system unless I don't know.
I'm a biotech engineer. I run an electric vehicle company. I don't know anything more than H.C. Verma for my left-hand rule, right-hand rule.
So, look, I have 3 degrees, so I'm not the guy who's going to tell you to give up on education. Okay. But I think. Yeah, please.
Yeah, please continue. Please continue.
So what I'm saying is, one of the most important things that I sort of learned a little late in life is, it's not necessary to look at, okay, I do either education or a job or a startup, etc. So I've never looked at it that way, so I never had that. I think the important part that you need to do, because you're talking, non-technical, management-oriented stuff, or you said you have an idea to improve systemic efficiency. I don't know which system you're trying to improve, but are you sure that you can't go to your professors for the right kind of connects, or maybe they can help you with ideas? So for example, as an example, if you said you wanted to bring change in, say, some sort of a efficiency improvement in a government scheme, right? Have you thought about talking to your professors who are these days continuously applying to grants and hence are in touch with a lot more government, functionaries? So they will be able to potentially introduce you to the right people or connect you with a different kind of network, not necessarily a technical network, right? So the important thing that I'm trying to say is, when you are at the beginning of an idea, it's potentially too early for you to say, I will just give up everything and do only that, right? So even in our case, we worked for a year on a bike before we said, I will go ahead and start up my company. I think company we registered in 2015 end, but we had been sort of working on the idea in the background while working. I think we used to work 8 to 8, so 12 hours a day. So all our background work used to happen after 10, because it used to take us 2 hours to get back home from work. So between me and the other people, and she was in a different time zone. So between India and Europe, and between 2-3 other guys here working, after working 8 to 8 and then go back home at 10 and start working. We did that for about a year before saying, now we actually had the entire calculations mapped out to build the first prototype before we said, we now need to do something separate, where we have to get a third person in who's a designer, etc., etc. So when to say I will go all into a startup when you just have an idea, especially when you're a student, is something I'm not a big promoter of. I would say continue your studies, complete it, because it does give you a lot of perspective. But I would say try to explore. When you're in college, you have a lot of sandbox, a lot of different kinds of connects, right? One thing I find lacking a lot, which is slowly changing in Indian universities, is a mechanical guy thinks I have this idea I want to do, and they will only think I will work with mechanical. Talk to the other engineering streams, talk to students in hostels, talk to people in your bus who are, from electronics, computer science, management. I know there's management in the college. Have you tried talking to management students to say, hey, this is an idea, or management professors? Hey, this is an idea I think I want to work on. These are the challenges I'm seeing. What do you think? So build up the idea to a more concrete form, because when you start working on it, you start having a more solid idea of how you want to work the problem. And once you have that idea sorted is when you should really think about going at it full steam.
but start building. Start building. You have a lot of time. Start building.
आपके प्रश्न, आपका सवाल, जो क्वेश्चन था उसका जवाब गीता में लिखा हुआ है कि ईशाम न विद्या न तपो न दानम ज्ञानम न शीलम न गुणो न धर्म ते मृत्युलोके भुवि भार भूत्वा मनुष्य रूपेण मृगाश्चर्य। क्या मतलब है इसका? इसमें एक बात आती है धर्म की, जिसके येषाम न विद्या न तपो न दानम, इस व्यक्ति के अंदर ज्ञान, विद्या और तप ये नहीं है। न शीलम न गुणो न धर्म, एक धर्म है हमारा इस मातृभूमि के प्रति, इस इंस्टीट्यूट के प्रति जिसमें आप पढ़ रहे हैं, अपने टीचर्स के प्रति, अपने माँ बाप के प्रति। ये धर्म हिंदू और मुस्लिम वाला नहीं है किसी भी तरीके से। ये धर्म है हमारा अपने समाज के प्रति, जो हमारे आसपास के लोग हैं उनके प्रति, और उस धर्म का पालन हमको करना चाहिए। अभी आप शिक्षा ग्रहण कर रहे हैं तो आपको अपने शिक्षा धर्म, शैक्षिक जो विद्यार्थी धर्म का पालन करना चाहिए, और जब आप बिजनेस में आ जाए तो आपको अपने बिजनेस धर्म का पालन करना चाहिए, लेकिन मातृभूमि धर्म को भी ध्यान में रखते हुए। ये एक छोटी सी रिक्वेस्ट है मेरी, जो मैंने स्टार्ट किया था अपना सेशन, तो मैंने कहा था कि हम अंग्रेजों की फौज में शामिल ना हो। जलियांवाला हत्याकांड में हम शामिल थे, इसीलिए वो हमने किया। हम आज भी यही छोटी रिक्वेस्ट है कि हम अंग्रेजों की फौज में शामिल ना हो, और हमारे पास ये बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि आज की डेट में गवर्नमेंट इस देश का एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और दूसरा इस देश की सोच, स्टार्टअप, एक स्टूडेंट को स्टार्टअप शुरू करने के लिए प्रेरित कर रही है। कॉलेजेस अपने यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट को स्टार्टअप शुरू करने के लिए प्रेरित कर रहे हैं, और इससे ये देश जो है आगे जाके सुदृढ़ और आत्मनिर्भर बन पाएगा। हाँ, जब हम पास आउट हुए थे तो उस समय कहानी ये थी कि भाई हमें तो जॉब करनी है, और कभी उम्मीद ही नहीं थी कि हम ऐसा कुछ बिजनेस या ऐसा कुछ स्टार्ट करते हैं, बट इट इज राइट टाइम। हमारा जो मातृभूमि के प्रति जो ऋण है, ये मातृभूमि ऋण है, वो हमें जरूर चुकाना चाहिए, और उसके हिसाब से हमें आइडियाज सोचने चाहिए, भाई जो भी हमारे आइडियाज हैं, और उनको हम इस देश को रिटर्न क्या कर सकते हैं। हम नदी, हमारे यहाँ नदियों को माता कहा जाता है, गंगा माता, यमुना जी, और गंगा माँ, यमुना माँ, नर्मदा माँ। ये देश जो है वो वैदिक देश रहा है, जहाँ पे नदियों को, पहाड़ों को, और ये ऐसी चीजें हैं जिन्होंने हमें आज तक दिया है। क्या नदी ने आपसे कुछ वापस लिया आज तक? मेरे ख्याल से नहीं। नदी हमको पानी देती है, जल देती है, इसकी वजह से हम जिंदा हैं। देयर आर लॉट ऑफ अदर थिंग्स दे गिव। पर्वत हमको बहुत सारी चीजें देते हैं, तो हमें उनको रिटर्न करना चाहिए। और जिस देश पे हमने जन्म लिया, जिस देश की भूमि पे हम एक्चुअली पैदा हुए हैं, उसको रिटर्न करना हमारी ड्यूटी बनती है, और हमें करना चाहिए। और नाउ द सिस्टम एंड इकोसिस्टम इज सपोर्टिंग this type of infrastructure to develop this country.
To add on to the question which was put up by the student over there about having a knowledge hub and at the parallel, pursuing your studies and then thinking of a startup on the parallel line. The very fact that so many students were sitting there at this particular discussion is a fact which is open to the audience here, that the innovation and the idea is already there. So you're already doing it. Your presence here in this session itself is proof enough that you are on the parallel thinking and working on the lines of entrepreneurship while you are at the MVIT campus.
Thank you, everyone. Now, another question.
Good morning, panelists. Sir, my name is Shashwat. I have a set of questions. Like, first is how you know that one idea is an idea is like going to be big, like it's a startup idea. We don't know from start. And another is how to refuse a financial stable job, or we should first take some job and then try to get some colleagues along with us parallelly to work on some idea, like, because refusing any financial stable job seems very not logical right now. Like all our upbringing is that take a job, but that if you have to work on your dream, do with that. Like you have to do UPSC, do with that. Like we don't have that courage in our family, or like go all out to that idea, because we tend to think in job perspective, take a job and then do something.
I like it how
So, Ashwath, answering the first half of the question about, how would you know if an idea is big or small? You would never know. The idea would never be big or small. It would always be an idea, right? How you actually translate it and take it to the next level depends on what the journey lies ahead, right? So it'll be more like a seed in the start, and you grow it, and you make it big or you make it small is in your hands. Idea remains an idea, and that's around which your innovation will stem.
I like it how you guys are asking questions that I like it how you guys are asking questions that will get us into trouble with your parents. I think say no to a financially stable job. That's a very subjective question. It completely depends. Look, if you do your research online, I'm sure you'll find enough and more examples. There are successful entrepreneurs who have started up on their own. There are enough people who have dropped out and made it big. There are enough people who have worked 2-3 jobs while making a third company. There are people who, I think the most way, Uber, if you look at it, no, LinkedIn, for example, I think they had 135 rejections before they got acquired by Microsoft or something like that. So there are enough and more examples of different kinds of success coming from different areas in all kinds of entrepreneurship. It's not just one solution fits all. Now, whether you are willing to say no to a financially stable job, in my opinion, is completely not linked to whether you should start up or whether you'll make it big as an entrepreneur. It really comes down to your personal comfort level. If you have a really strong I'll tell you a very practical example. There are people that we know who are doing their own companies but have so much financial responsibility on them that they have to do a job during the daytime. In the evening or in nighttime, they do it, right? So you know students who do work during daytime and do night college, right? This is not any different from that. There are enough examples in our country where people come from a poor background, so they inherit debt from their parents. If that guy says, I'll start up, I will not do a financial job, then such people, there are a lot of such people in India, right? So I think there's a big question of, it's a very subjective question, which comes down to your level of comfort and your present situation, right? So I don't think there's a one answer to your question of how would you make sure something will work, or how you would be successful, or how you will say no to a job. It's not necessary that you say no to a job while doing. Of course, there's a big caveat as always. If, for example, you say you're going to work in an electric vehicle company and then say I'm going to make my own electric vehicle in parallel on the sidelines, that there you are bordering on legality issues or something like that. So there you have to be careful. But if you're saying,
I'll work in Infosys and make a EV on the side.
yeah, I'm doing software, but I'm doing something else on the side, which is my passion, there's nothing that says no to it, right? So it's a subjective question, depends on what you want to do.
Very practically, so Srinivas had his own job. We were doing jobs. So from 2014 to 2015, he had a job that he was working on after his PhD. I had a job that I was working on after my MBA, when this whole idea was sort of coming together and all of that. At no point put yourself at financial risk in such a way that you do not have to eat tomorrow. Okay? If you have debt, if you need to resolve someone else's debt, if you have healthcare situations in your house that is not managed by insurance, okay, do not put yourself at a risk in such a way that you're not able to focus on your startup. Make yourself secure, Get yourself a job, any job that you can do 9 to 5, or work from home, or freelance, or whatever it is that meets what your needs are. Calculate that. Okay, if someone has a health issue, you need to go for dialysis every week. You don't have to necessarily throw everything and start a startup, right? You need to take care of that person who needs to go for dialysis every week. If you have something that, someone else's debt to answer, or your own debt to solve that you don't want to put on someone else, make sure you earn enough to cover those EMIs. Then you still have 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. to do the thing that you want to do. Build your product, build your concept, take it to customers, do your beta testing, get your first, your minimum viable product out while taking care of your responsibilities. Then whether you write UPSC or not is up to you. Whether you start making more money from your startup than you would having a civil service job, then you convince your parents. That you ask him.
So the idea is whether you have to go for an entrepreneurship or for a job. That you need to decide first. Because it's not about the idea. You had a couple of questions together. It's not about the idea. If you are an entrepreneurial material, even if that idea fails, you will create another idea and create revenue for yourself. First, you need to decide what kind of material you are and what will suit you. A regular 9 to 5 job which is financially stable, or a risk-taking job which may either take you very top or bottom. So that you need to decide upfront. And things have changed now, not like earlier. Now faculties are very cooperative, and every faculty and management institution, they encourage you to write grants, they encourage you to write a project. Things were different in our stage, where we had to hide and do things. Now people will appreciate you for doing that, so you can start right now. And yes, the other student also was asking how to balance this and education together. So I don't think it's very difficult to pass an engineering, right? It's very easy. Faculties are very cooperative. They give you internals marks. I remember my days. I had a startup without telling anyone. So I was in financial distress. I couldn't come for classes also. I got 25 out of 25 in only one internal which I wrote. My faculty called me 25 divided by 3, 8.33. So it round off to 8. So I asked, at least make 9. He said you should get, no, its average is 8.3. I cannot get 26 and a half for to get 9 out of. So things have changed now. You can talk to faculties. Faculties are cooperative. They are helping you out, right? They understand. But do justice for what you're doing. Don't escape in the name of startup. That's what most students do. Just telling the name of startup and run away from the classes, that you'll be doing injustice to yourself. So talk to parents, talk to your friends, talk to faculties, and you will solve the problem.
Another question by Rishabh.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My question is, how can we find an idea that we are passionate about? So, all of you said that we'll face a lot of challenges, failures, and problems in the process. So, how can we find something for which we are willing to face all of that, and for which we are willing to quit our financially stable job or anything like that? So, how?
Only you can answer that question.
You have girlfriend?
That question. What's a problem you are facing that you want to solve? Right? For us, it is in pollution. Right? For someone else, it could be something else. The source of inspiration or motivation could be something else. But only you can answer that question. I thought I would start an event management company. Then I thought I would have access to healthcare sort of company. I'm currently running a company. I don't know what I'm going to be doing 10 years from now. Right? Only you can answer the question that will keep you awake from 5 in the morning to 12 midnight working on that problem. But if you do startup, it will keep you up from 5 in the morning to 12 in the night. Huh?
Yeah, no.
Either direction. Or from 12 in the midnight to 5 in the morning, and then you have to get up and go to work anyway.
Okay, another question.
I am Abhishek from first year computer science. So my question is, while making a digital product-based company, so what is the first mover advantage in that, like advantage and pros and cons of both?
Can you explain a little more?
Like I'm starting a product-based company, like digital product. So what is the first mover advantage in that, and uh, uh, disadvantage of it?
Not very clear about the question. So you're asking what is the first mover advantage or
First mover advantage.
The disadvantage of the first moving product. Uh, Hello. The disadvantage is to crack the barrier. Actually, you need to be, if you want to establish your product, if you want to establish your product in the market, you need to crack a barrier. And if you, this is the first disadvantage, and the advantage is always be if you are only one in the market, then you will get money.
first mover advantage, right? So if you have a product that's new, so definitely you have first mover advantage. So people will start, if you start creating a brand, people will start recognizing you and they will always follow you. The disadvantage is, yeah, how much IP you have, how much control you have over competition. So that's the disadvantage part. If that easily replicable or copyable, then definitely there is going to be a disadvantage to that. So you need to decide on that.
Just to add to that, you are saying it's a digital product, right? So your first mover advantage, assuming you have, you're the first one to come up with a solution to that problem, and no one else has done it, is that you now have a solution to a potential problem, right? So if obviously you're solving a problem for a lot of people, then you have a very big chance of making it big, provided you move quickly, etc. So as a first mover, you get to define what the solution should be. So you have that advantage that you will suddenly orient everyone else's thoughts that, oh, this is the solution, how it should be structured. Because whether we like it or not, most people in the market copy other ideas and try to improve on it. Okay, so you get to define how most of the market starts thinking. That's the first mover advantage that you have. The disadvantage that you will have is you don't know whether that solution will work because you're the first guy offering a solution, so the chance of failure is very high. The second disadvantage is around you made a move, people start accepting the solution, okay? But it then comes down to how quickly you can adapt and learn from what your customers are telling you. Because the moment you put a product out there, a lot of people are going to start looking at your product very carefully. And whatever issues start cropping up, someone or the other will start building around it. Okay? So it comes down to how quickly you can address the challenges or problems that your solution has. If you keep at it at a very high pace, then you can maintain the lead. Because you see the second disadvantage, right? What happens is others are able to learn from your mistakes. So unless you are willing to correct those mistakes very quickly, you're basically guiding someone else on what not to do. So that's the disadvantage.
And I think also you need to understand, is this a problem customers already have, and how are they solving it right now? Maybe your way of solving it is the first in the market. Before electric vehicles came, there were always petrol vehicles. Before petrol vehicles came, there was always the steam engine. Before that, there was always bullock carts or horses. People were getting around. The problem is getting around. How are you solving that problem, right? How are your customers currently solving that problem, and what is a product that they use instead of your product right now?
Okay, we have another question.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Chetan. I am from MCA first year. I want to know about that. How you stay motivated that your idea will succeed one day? Because me and my friend started one startup in 2019, and still we are doing, but we are not that much hope that it will work out or it will succeed one day. So how you people are stay motivated that your idea will succeed one day?
आपको आवाज आ रही है मेरी? आपको आर यू गेटिंग माय वॉइस?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you proposed any girl till date?
Propose. Yes, we proposed with means one of the corporate visited us. They invited
No.
us to.
Have you proposed any girl till date? Or you have girlfriend?
No, sir. No, sir.
You should try for that.
Okay.
So you will be always stay motivated. जब तक वो आपकी गर्लफ्रेंड नहीं बनेगी आप मोटिवेटेड रहोगे, उसके पीछे लगे रहोगे. It is just like your idea. I told every time.
So I have another question, sir. In 2019 and 22, we approached one corporate approached us to they given us environment and their workstation to work with them. So we are just partnershiping and we given everything idea and we started with them. So they are interested. They shown they funded and in 2019 before COVID hits they means our idea went they took on and they approached 2-3 franchises and they conveyed 3 to 5 franchises and those people also invested. So our idea is not yet come in market before that COVID hits. So our our development went slow. So in that time period that which venture we visited, those people took our idea and left out and went for another idea with that funding also. So they went for trading. So how can we can know that this VC or this funder and they can take our idea into another levels or how can they can take means another way. So don't.
दोस्त मुझसे मुझे लगता है कि इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि आपके आइडिया को कौन ले सकता है या कौन नहीं ले सकता. The most importantly, how passionate you are about your idea. That is most important. कोई दूसरा व्यक्ति अगर उसी आइडिया के लिए जो आपका आइडिया है उसको अचीव करने के लिए उसके आइडिया को चोरी करके और बनाने के लिए उतना पैशनेट नहीं हो सकता जितने आप हो. और अगर आपके अंदर वो पैशन नहीं है तो आपका आइडिया डेफिनेटली फेल होगा. और उस व्यक्ति के अंदर वो पैशन है कि he can succeed that idea, then your idea will be definitely grow up. That's my commitment to you. But the passion should be there. If you doesn't have passion for that, then girlfriend is not yours. That will be another one. So if you are passionate, then there is no issue at all. That's my point of view. I don't understand. मुझे नहीं मालूम कि दूसरे पैनलिस्ट इसके बारे में क्या कहेंगे. The passion should be there about your idea. बाकी 4 लोग अगर उस आइडिया को शुरू करते हैं और उनके पीछे पैशन नहीं हो तो they will definitely fail. आपके आइडिया के पीछे पैशन है तो you will definitely succeed. And आपके पास पैशन नहीं है तो you will fail and the other will succeed. So that's all.
You had 2 questions. One is how to stay motivated. Second one is what do you do when one approach doesn't work. In this case, you went with an idea to a corporate and COVID hit, things changed, etc. I want to point out one thing which came in as part of your second question. How do you identify whether this VC will allow you to get to market, etc. Please understand, as a founder, it is completely up to you and your responsibility alone to make sure that your idea and your product gets to the market, to the customer. It is not the VC's responsibility. It's not your corporate partner's responsibility. It is not any of your employees' responsibility. You are the founder. The final decision and the final responsibility for your idea, for your company, for your employees, it all comes down to you. You are the only one on whom the responsibility rests to get your idea, your solution, your product out into the market to the customer in a way that they will be willing to pay you for it and in a way that you can grow. That is one. Two, when someone like a corporate sponsor comes to you, they start a project with you, it may or may not work. They have certain risk appetite, they have certain factors on which they make their decisions. They are very well within their rights as partners, within their abilities to decide whether they want to continue with a project or not. Whether you're protecting your idea or not depends, or how much of the idea you get to keep for yourself and they cannot use, or whether they can use it in a different way whereas you can use it only in one way, etc. That comes down to how your contract is structured. That's a negotiation part, right? So there are 2 points. One is it's your responsibility. 2 is you have to know how to negotiate with your clients, especially in a joint collaborative project. Okay, if you don't negotiate it properly at the beginning, you can rest assured that your idea, which has merit, will be applied for their favor, how they see fit. You cannot stop it, and there's nothing illegal about it, frankly. Okay. The third point that I want to address comes back to your first question. How do you stay motivated? As an entrepreneur, you are going to have advantages. You are going to have successes. You are going to have projects which will fail or undertakings that will fail, right? So don't look at it as my thing is, don't look at it as, oh, my company failed, or I went to set out this thing that failed. Look at your entire entrepreneurial journey as smaller questions. It's a smaller project. So today, for example, you're writing code. Your first challenge is whether you coded it and whether that code is compiling and executing like you wanted it to. So that's your first success. If it does, that's your first success. If it doesn't, that's your first failure. Then you have to improve it there. It's running as I wanted to. That keeps me motivated for maybe a week or two. Then you go back to your corporate client. He says, oh, I'm happy it runs, but this is not what I wanted. Then you understand what he or she wanted. You make that change. Now you go back to him again. He says, okay, let's try pushing this out to customers, right? So that's your second success. So that keeps you motivated. When you go to those 5 franchisees, they say, hey, this is something we like to deploy in our stores and understand whether it works or not. We'll give it a try. That's a third small success. I think it's very important that you guys start focusing on small successes. That's what keeps you motivated. A new problem will pull your motivation down because that's not something you anticipate. But when you solve that small problem, you get motivated. Okay, I've solved this. Now let's move ahead. What's next, right? So that's how you keep motivated. If you think I'm only motivated or demotivated on how quickly I achieve something big, then you're in for a lot of depression. So focus on the small successes. That's the best.
See, I would like to add to that. See, for a startup founder or an entrepreneur, nobody will motivate you. You have to get self-motivated, right? That's the final. No more questions on that. You have to be self-motivated. You have to motivate yourself. You see YouTube videos or Sadhguru or whatever it is. So you motivate yourself. That's the first thing. Second thing is, what I could realize is that you have come up with an idea, and that idea has been taken over by someone which you are not able to access on your own, or there were some failures. That's what I could understand. Okay, so that itself is a very big lesson for you. At this age, you have tried something, you have failed, and you have learned so many things. So as sir was mentioning, now it is time for you to understand about contracts, negotiations, non-disclosure agreements, how much to disclose, what not to disclose. This itself is a PhD for an entrepreneur, right? We have gone through all those things. If you give up, demotivate and give up at this stage and work for someone, it's an advantage for them, right? So this is the stage you capitalize on all these things. See, it's the idea is like picking up water from a well. So you keep taking out, you get fresh. If it is staying there, it will become old, right? If that idea is not available to you, come up with a new idea. If you have signed a contract and that's not in your hands, you motivate yourself. If at this stage, in 2 to 3 years of time, you could build something and some partners have come to you and there were franchises developed, that's a good idea. And you have learned so many things, and that itself shows your ability as a team, right? Come up with a new one. Just leave it and do something new.
आपके लिए एक चीज और बताता हूँ मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल लगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया आप शुरू अकेले ही करते हो, फिर लोग साथ आते रहते हैं और कारवा बन जाता है. There are two type of loins are currently available. हम देखते हैं. एक वो शेर है जो जंगल में बैठा हुआ है. वो शेर जो है वो धूप भी सहता है, वो बरसात भी सहता है, उसको कई बारी खाना भी नहीं मिलता है. एक दूसरा शेर और है जिसका जो जू के अंदर रहता है. वो जू वाला जो शेर है ना, उसको टाइम पे खाना मिलता है, उसी को टाइम पे लोग नहलाते भी हैं, उसको टाइम पे डॉक्टर भी देखने आता है, उसको टाइम पे देयर आर लॉट ऑफ अदर फैसिलिटीज ही गॉट. देयर आर टू टाइप ऑफ लॉइंस. एक जंगल का शेर है, एक जू का शेर है. आप कौन से बनना चाहते हो ये आप पे डिपेंड करता है. जू वाला शेर अपनी मर्जी से जीता है, सॉरी जंगल वाला शेर अपनी मर्जी से जीता है और जू वाला शेर जो है वो दूसरे की मर्जी से जीता है. लाइफ अच्छी जू वाले शेर की रहती है, जंगल वाले शेर की लाइफ में हर्डल्स रहते हैं. इट्स ऑन अप टू यू व्हाट द पोजीशन यू वांट. मुझे लगता है ये एग्जांपल जो है आपको कुछ समझ में आया होगा और देन यू कैन गेट द आउटकम ऑफ दैट.
In science. So my question is that what is the vision of a company, and where do you think yourself as a where do you expect yourself, on which stage do you expect yourself in the coming 3 years? Sir, what is the vision of your company, and where do you expect yourself, on which level do you see yourself or the company that in the coming 3 years?
That's you're asking anyone in specific or everyone? From me? Okay, that's a very tricky question to answer. Where do I see myself from 3 years? I don't want to comment on that publicly because our journey has been very different from what we imagined it. But all I can tell you is we are not doing anything that we had not imagined. That the timelines are kind of different. So what we thought we'll do in 2 years, we have not yet finished doing. What we thought we will do after 5 or 6 years, we've already done. So timelines are off. So I will not say where we are in 3 years. In terms of vision, what we envision for Arha Energies is that we will be one of the key players as far as performance electric systems are concerned, electric vehicles, electric mobility around that. So we focus on high performance systems. That is where we intend to build our forte. And that is something I would say is the vision for our company. We want to be one of the key players from India. Building, obviously, these days everyone builds for the global market. But we want to be one of the key players building high performance electric mobility systems from India.
Thank you for answering that. And just one thing, if they want to contact you, how can they approach you, if you can share? Okay. So you can contact Vani Priya ma'am for any further doubts. And we can take it offline now. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you guests for coming in and guiding us. I guess this would really help us to know